In the beginning, there was silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the kind that hums beneath the breath of creation. The earth was young then, and yet already ancient. Continents drifted like slow-moving giants through the mist of deep time. Mountains rose and fell as if breathing. Oceans swallowed lands and gave them back again. And through it all, the planet remembered. Each layer of stone, each fossilized ripple, a memory etched in silence. We stand upon that memory now, the surface of a world built on countless forgotten worlds. It's easy to imagine history as a straight line, a timeline beginning with the first humans, leading through civilizations, empires, and finally, us. But what if that line is just the visible surface of something far deeper? What if, beneath the neat pages of recorded history, there lies another story, buried, fragmented, erased by time itself? The Earth has always been home to ghosts, not the spectral kind, but the civilizations and species that once thrived, then vanished without a trace. Their cities sank into the sea, their monuments crumbled into sand, and their stories dissolved into myth. We call them legends. But sometimes, legends have roots. Long before the first known civilizations, before Sumeria, before Egypt, before the stones of Göbekli Tepe were lifted, there were other worlds, unknown, unnamed, their traces scattered like echoes, in myths, in megaliths, in patterns of the stars that ancient priests once mapped but could no longer explain. It is said that every civilization carries a memory of the one that came before. A whisper passed down through symbols, rituals, and architecture. But with each passing age, the whisper fades, distorted by the noise of progress and the amnesia of time. Somewhere along the line, we forgot to ask, how old is humanity, really? Geologists tell us that the Earth has endured at least 5 mass extinctions, cataclysms so vast they erased nearly all life. Volcanoes, meteor impacts, ice ages, cycles of destruction and rebirth. Yet, what if humanity, or something like it, has also lived through cycles of its own? Civilizations rising in golden ages, then falling into silence so deep even their memory turned to dust. When the ice sheets last melted, roughly 12,000 years ago, they swallowed coastlines, forests, and perhaps entire cultures. Over 20 million square kilometers of habitable land vanished beneath the sea. Could the ruins of our earliest cities still lie beneath those waves? Oceanographers estimate that most of the world's ancient human settlements, if they existed, would now be hidden underwater, beyond the reach of conventional archaeology. A quiet archive of stone and coral waiting in the deep. But there is another silence, one harder to measure, the silence between myth and science. Nearly every culture from the Mayans to the Hindus to the Greeks speaks of an age before the Great Flood, an era of divine knowledge of gods walking among men of cities that shone like mirrors beneath the sun. Atlantis, Lemuria, the golden ages of the ancients. Stories dismissed as allegory, and yet they persist. Why? Why do so many civilizations, separated by oceans and millennia, tell the same story? Of a world destroyed, of wisdom lost, of memory drowned. Perhaps myths are not invented. Perhaps they are inherited, like fossils of consciousness, passed down from one forgotten epoch to the next. In 1994, deep beneath the dry soil of Turkey, archaeologists uncovered something impossible. Göbekli Tepe, a temple complex carved with astronomical precision, built more than 11,000 years ago, long before writing, farming, or metal. According to every textbook, such a civilization should not have existed, and yet it did. That discovery alone shattered a pillar of modern history, forcing us to accept that advanced culture existed before we thought civilization had even begun. If Göbekli Tepe survived, what else was lost? Every grain of sand was once part of something vast, a mountain, a temple, a home, and every home was once part of something even greater, a civilization, a dream. What we see as ruins are not just remnants. They are reflections of who we once were. Perhaps the story of humanity is not a ladder, but a spiral, repeating, evolving, forgetting, rediscovering. Each turn bringing us back to the same questions, asked in different tongues. Who built the first cities? Where did they go? And why does the earth seem to hide their memory so well? As the first chapter closes, the mist thickens. The world fades to twilight, mountains reduced to silhouettes, waves breaking over unseen ruins. Before the first pyramid rose, before the first god was named, there were others. Their echoes still hum beneath our feet. And if you listen, truly listen, you can almost hear them breathing through the dust of time. Every culture tells the same story, different names, different gods, but always the same pattern. A world of abundance, a golden age of wisdom and wonder. And then, a flood, a fire, a silence. Civilizations wiped clean from existence, leaving behind only fragments of myth, etched into the bones of the earth and the memory of humankind. The Greeks spoke of Atlantis, a luminous island empire beyond the Pillars of Hercules. In a single night, the ocean rose and swallowed it whole. Plato did not write it as fantasy, but as history. A warning from Egyptian priests who said the world had forgotten its own beginnings. He wrote, "In a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea. Most called it allegory, a tale of pride and punishment. But some wondered, why would a philosopher obsessed with truth invent such a story and insist it was real? Far from Greece in India's ancient Vedas, another memory lingers. Dvaraka, the shining city of Krishna. A city built by the gods, drowned by the sea when the Great Age ended. Hindu cosmology speaks of history not as a straight line, but as endless cycles, yugas, each one born, destroyed, and reborn again. The Mayan Popol Vuh tells the same tale, of worlds built and destroyed over and over. Humankind created, tested, and wiped away when it strayed too far from the divine. Different lands, different languages, the same memory. Scholars say these are archetypes, universal myths born from nature's rhythm. Floods, fire, death, renewal. But what if they are not symbols? What if they are reflections, inherited memories from a time before memory itself? Across the world, from the Arctic to the Amazon, the same story survives. A great civilization destroyed by cataclysm. A handful of survivors rebuilding from the ashes. Is that coincidence or remembrance? In the 1990s, divers exploring the Gulf of Kambat in India discovered geometric ruins beneath 40 meters of water. Structures that carbon dating placed at more than 9,000 years old. Older than the pyramids, older than Sumer. The mainstream said it was geology, but to others it was the long-lost city of Dvaraka, the Atlantis of the East. And near Japan, in the waters off Yonaguni, lies a vast stone monument. Terraces, stairways, and carved faces disappearing into blue twilight. Natural, say some, but the islanders call it the ruins of the old gods. Could these be the last fingerprints of forgotten civilizations, erased by the very oceans that now guard their graves? The myth of lost worlds refuses to die. It lives in our collective pulse, the quiet intuition that we are not the first, that others came before us, that greatness is not eternal, only borrowed. Perhaps these myths are warnings, reminders that progress is fragile and memory even more so. But perhaps they are invitations, echoes from the past calling us to remember. Imagine an advanced culture tens of thousands of years ago. No steel, no screens, but a mastery of energy, geometry, and harmony with the planet itself. Their monuments may not have been of metal, but of sound, resonance, alignment. Their knowledge not written in books, but carved in stone, measured in stars. Then, one cataclysm, a comet, a shift in the Earth's axis, the seas rise, the sky burns, and silence falls. The survivors scatter. Their language fades. Their cities turn to sand. Their memory becomes myth. And thousands of years later, we rediscover their shadows and call them legends. Once, before the dawn of history, whispers the world, there were those who knew the stars not as symbols, but as coordinates. They understood the Earth as a living being, moving in rhythm with the cosmos. And when that rhythm broke, they fell silent, leaving behind a song the world still hums, though we've forgotten its words. Atlantis, Dvaraka, the flood of Noah, the ages of the Mayans, different voices, same lament. A world that ends, a memory that refuses to fade, a cycle that turns again and again. Perhaps myths are not lies we tell ourselves. Perhaps they are truths we've forgotten how to believe. Beneath the endless waves, a city sleeps. Concentric rings of land and water, gleaming temples of gold, streets that once hummed with life, all swallowed by the merciless ocean. The very name Atlantis evokes wonder and dread, a civilization whispered into memory, yet lost to the tides of time. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, first gave form to this legend in his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. He painted a picture of grandeur, an island empire lying beyond the Pillars of Hercules, vast and fertile, teeming with resources and people of remarkable skill. Engineers and artisans, farmers and sailors, warriors and philosophers, all working in harmony to build a city that reflected their mastery over land and sea. At the heart of this civilization stood a temple dedicated to Poseidon, the god of oceans, its colossal statue of gold shimmering as if alive beneath the sun. Around it, concentric canals connected each ring of the city, allowing commerce and culture to flow like the veins of a living organism. For centuries, scholars have debated Plato's intentions. Was he merely crafting an allegory, a cautionary tale against pride and greed? Or did his words preserve the distant echo of a real place, a memory of civilization lost to catastrophe? The level of detail he provides, descriptions of metals, of orichalcum gleaming in sunlight, of streets and waterways meticulously planned, challenges the notion that Atlantis could be pure invention. Geologists and oceanographers have scoured the seabed, searching for physical traces. They examine sediment layers, underwater rock formations, and sunken structures, seeking patterns that might hint at human hands. Some formations appear eerily deliberate, stones aligned as if part of a colossal blueprint. Yet nature is a patient sculptor, and currents, erosion, and time conspire to mimic design. Every discovery invites both hope and skepticism. The timeline Plato offers is striking. He claims that Atlantis vanished 9,000 years before the era of Solon, placing its fall around 11,600 years ago, a period of extraordinary climatic upheaval. The end of the last ice age brought sudden cooling, glacial surges, and then a rapid melt, flooding coastlines across the globe. Could Plato's account be a distant memory of these cataclysms? Did the rising seas erase entire societies, leaving only fragments of stories passed down through generations? Flood myths appear across the ancient world. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of a great deluge. Hindu texts speak of pralaya, a cyclical destruction by water. Even the Bible recounts Noah's flood. These stories, separated by thousands of miles and cultures, share uncanny similarities. Each hints at a past where water claimed the lands, and humanity had to begin anew. Atlantis fits within this broader tapestry, perhaps a vivid memory of catastrophe preserved in mythic form. Yet science offers tangible clues. Submerged formations, like the Bimini Road off the coast of the Bahamas, hint at structures that may have once supported human activity. Massive limestone blocks laid in linear arrangements suggest deliberate placement. Some argue these could be ancient roads or walls, now resting silently beneath the waves. Others see only the slow handiwork of currents and sedimentation, nature's imitation of human order. In the Indian Ocean, tales of Dwarka emerge from texts and marine exploration. Ruins found offshore suggest a city that mirrors descriptions in sacred scriptures. Pillars, foundations, and walls hint at advanced engineering, perhaps more sophisticated than previously attributed to that era. Dating places them over 9,000 years old, remarkably close to the time frame Plato associates with Atlantis. Could these discoveries represent a surviving echo of civilizations once thought mythical? The debate continues. Mainstream scholars urge caution, citing the absence of definitive artifacts, writing, or material culture directly linked to Atlantis. Yet every sonar scan, every sediment core, every carved stone seems to tease at possibility, a submerged memory just beyond reach. Some researchers propose that survivors of ancient cataclysms carried knowledge elsewhere, influencing the development of civilizations in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and beyond. Architecture, astronomy, religious rituals, echoes of lost wisdom may have traveled through time, leaving subtle footprints in the known history of humanity. And still, the allure of Atlantis persists. Perhaps it is the ultimate symbol of what we cannot recover, a reminder of impermanence, of ambition and hubris, of civilizations that rose to brilliance only to vanish beneath relentless waters. It is a story that blurs the line between legend and history, a mirror reflecting both our curiosity and our humility. In imagining the city, one can almost hear the market's bustle, feel the shimmer of bronze and orichalcum under sunlight, sense the solemnity of temples, and the quiet fear before disaster struck. All vanished in a day and night, yet carried forward in memory, myth, and the endless quest to understand what came before. As researchers dive into the depths and sift through layers of sediment, Plato's words remain a compass. A city, both real and imagined, drowned yet indelible, a ghost civilization whose echo still resonates in the human imagination. Atlantis, the drowned memory, calls to us across millennia, asking, always asking, what lies beneath, waiting to be remembered. Far beyond the familiar coastlines, the Indian Ocean stretches like an endless mirror, its waves hiding secrets older than memory. Beneath these waters, whispers speak of a sunken land, a continent lost before history began to be written, Lemuria. Also known as Kumari Kandam in Tamil lore, this vanished land has inspired generations of scholars, mystics, and explorers. Legends tell of fertile plains, vast cities, and a civilization so advanced that its knowledge shaped the earliest human cultures. The origins of Lemuria are as elusive as the tides themselves. In the 19th century, scientists first proposed it as a hypothetical landmass to explain the distribution of species across the Indian Ocean and Madagascar. Geologists observed similarities between flora and fauna on islands separated by vast distances, suggesting a land bridge that once connected them. Though modern plate tectonics would later reshape this theory, the concept of a lost continent captured the imagination of the world, intertwining science with myth. Tamil literature, among the oldest continuous cultural records on Earth, speaks of Kumari Kandam as a sprawling landmass south of India, home to an enlightened people. These texts describe cities brimming with temples, schools, and bustling markets. Scholars interpret the legends as more than mere allegory. They see echoes of real migrations, of coastal societies submerged by rising seas at the end of the last ice age. Could the stories of Lemuria preserve the memory of communities displaced, of civilizations swallowed by the ocean? Geological evidence hints at rapid sea level rise during the Holocene, when melting glaciers released vast quantities of water into the oceans. Entire coastlines disappeared, reshaping continents and isolating populations. Ancient humans would have witnessed these changes firsthand, their settlements submerged beneath rising tides. It is plausible that tales of Kumari Kandam are cultural memories of these events. Myths born from observation, preserved across millennia. The descriptions of Lemuria are vivid. Scholars recount cities aligned with celestial bodies, towering structures carved from stone, and an intricate system of agriculture that fed millions. Some legends speak of a sacred city, the heart of the continent, where knowledge of astronomy, medicine, and spirituality thrived. It was said that the people lived in harmony with nature, attuned to the rhythms of the earth and sea. And then, as suddenly as it had flourished, the continent vanished, claimed by the ocean's inexorable advance. Speculative theories abound. Some propose Lemuria was a cradle of human civilization, predating even Sumer and Egypt. Others suggest it served as a migration hub, connecting the earliest humans across Asia, Africa, and Oceania. In this vision, the lost continent becomes more than myth. It is a bridge, a forgotten crossroads where culture, language, and technology mingled and spread. Even without conclusive proof, the idea invites questions. What knowledge might have been lost beneath the waves? What civilizations might have inspired those that followed? Oceanographers and archaeologists have searched the seafloor for signs of Kumari Kandam. Sonar mapping reveals submerged terraces, fossilized riverbeds, and unusual geological formations, hinting at coastlines that no longer exist. In some areas, stone outcrops suggest the presence of ancient settlements, though time and sediment have obscured most traces. Yet, the challenge is immense. The ocean is a living landscape, its currents, tectonics, and shifting sediments concealing evidence from even the most determined eyes. Some researchers draw parallels between Lemuria and other legendary continents, such as Atlantis and Mu. Each story shares motifs of prosperity, sudden catastrophe, and the disappearance of entire civilizations beneath water. This recurring theme raises questions about human memory. Why do so many cultures speak of great floods and sunken lands? Could these myths reflect real geological events encoded in oral traditions long before writing existed? Or do they reveal something deeper, a collective archetype that speaks to the fragility of human achievement? In exploring Lemuria, one also encounters the enigmatic Tamil Sangam texts. These early literary works praise a continent where kings ruled justly, scholars debated philosophy, and artisans achieved extraordinary feats. Some texts describe migration from the lost continent to present-day India and Sri Lanka, suggesting continuity rather than complete disappearance. Could remnants of Lemurian culture have seeded later civilizations, leaving subtle but persistent traces in language, art, and ritual? The ocean's depths guard their secrets jealously. Submerged features sometimes align with these descriptions. Terraces that may have been farmland, promontories shaped like harbor walls, isolated stone formations hinting at human modification. But the passage of millennia has blurred the line between natural and man-made. Each dive, each sonar scan, brings tantalizing possibilities, yet no definitive proof has emerged. And perhaps that is the essence of Lemuria, a place that exists at the intersection of history, imagination, and memory, perpetually out of reach. Modern science continues to probe the mystery. Satellite imaging, LiDAR, and oceanographic surveys reveal hidden landscapes once thought impossible to map. These tools have identified sunken plateaus and submerged valleys, hinting at lands that ancient humans could have inhabited. Climate modeling shows that sea levels rose as much as 120 meters since the last ice age, enough to drown extensive coastal regions. These discoveries reinforce the notion that Lemuria, or something like it, could have existed, a vanished world echoing in myth. And yet, Lemuria remains a ghost. It challenges our understanding of human history, asking whether civilization is older, more complex, and more fragile than conventional narratives allow. The continent, lost to waves and memory, reminds us of impermanence, of the forces greater than any one society. It exists in whispers, in texts, in the shapes of submerged lands, and in the imagination of those who seek the truth. As the sun sets over the Indian Ocean, the waves lap against islands that survived while others sank. Somewhere beneath those waters, Kumari Kandam may still lie, a memory frozen in stone and water, calling out across millennia. Its story, part myth, part possibility, endures, inviting us to question the boundaries between legend and history, between memory and the eternal sea. Lemuria, the lost continent, remains a mirror reflecting both our curiosity and our humility, a reminder that history is not only written on land but also hidden beneath the restless waves. Long before the rise of cities, before writing etched the first stories into clay, a place of stone and shadow stood atop the Anatolian plateau. The land is dry, windswept, and unassuming, yet beneath its soil lies a secret that would challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. Göbekli Tepe. The name itself whispers across time, hinting at sacred purpose, forgotten rituals, and mysteries that refuse to be unraveled. Discovered in the 1960s by chance, Göbekli Tepe initially drew little attention. A few protruding stones, mistaken for a cemetery, barely registered on archaeological maps. It was not until the 1990s, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began systematic excavation, that the enormity of the site came into focus. Massive limestone pillars, some carved with incredible precision, emerged from the earth, forming circles so vast and intricate that their construction seemed impossible for a society supposedly still reliant on simple hunter-gatherer life. The pillars are striking in both size and artistry. Towering over 5 meters, some weigh more than 20 tons. They rise from the earth in perfectly arranged circles, their flat surfaces etched with depictions of animals: snakes, foxes, boars, vultures, alongside abstract symbols that remain undeciphered. Each carving is precise, each placement deliberate. The effort required to quarry, transport, and erect these stones would have demanded coordinated labor, complex planning, and social organization on a scale previously thought unattainable for the Neolithic. Radiocarbon dating tells a staggering story. Construction began around 9600 BC, over 12,000 years ago, predating Stonehenge by 6 millennia and long before the first cities of Mesopotamia. In this revelation, Göbekli Tepe becomes more than a site. It is a challenge to conventional history, suggesting that the human capacity for ritual and architecture emerged not after agriculture, but perhaps before it. Could the need to gather for sacred purpose have inspired the first seeds of organized society? The site's arrangement suggests profound intention: circles within circles, pillars positioned at precise intervals, hint at more than aesthetics. Some researchers speculate astronomical alignments, connecting the structures to constellations, solstices, and celestial cycles. In the silent night, Göbekli Tepe would have been a place of observation and wonder, a bridge between earth and sky. But what motivated such sophistication? And for whom were these monumental spaces intended? Perhaps the most baffling aspect is its deliberate burial. Thousands of tons of soil were moved atop the structures, hiding them from view. Scholars debate the reasoning: preservation, ritual closure, or abandonment. In a world without writing, without recorded history, this act becomes an eternal enigma. A message frozen in earth, a secret left for distant descendants to ponder. Did the builders anticipate that future generations would stumble upon their work? Or did they intend it to vanish completely, swallowed by time as they themselves faded? The carvings themselves speak of a world-view steeped in symbolism. Predatory animals, often rendered in dramatic relief, might reflect the challenges of the natural world, or perhaps represent myths and stories long lost. Vultures appear repeatedly, hinting at ritualistic or funerary significance, while serpents and foxes suggest cunning, danger, and survival. The absence of domestic structures, no hearths, no living quarters, implies that this was not a settlement, but a sanctuary. It was a place apart from ordinary life, a temple dedicated to ideas and beliefs now obscured by millennia. Göbekli Tepe's existence raises fundamental questions. Who were its builders? Anthropologists suggest hunter-gatherers, yet the scale of the project implies leadership, coordination, and knowledge of engineering that seems out of place in a pre-agricultural society. How did they move multi-ton pillars across uneven terrain? How did they sustain the laborers, feed the workers, and organize a community capable of such feats? Some posit that knowledge was passed down from a prior, unknown civilization, a relic of human ingenuity that survived the end of the Ice Age, carrying wisdom now nearly erased from memory. The site also intersects with mythology and legend. Some historians speculate that Göbekli Tepe preserves cultural memory of floods, climate catastrophes, or lost civilizations such as Atlantis. Its construction coincides roughly with the end of the Younger Dryas, a period of abrupt climate change that reshaped the world. Perhaps the temple served as a center for ritual, protection, or remembrance, a way to record knowledge and culture in stone, safeguarding it against the turmoil of the world. Excavations reveal further mysteries, enclosures, adjacent carvings, and ancillary structures suggesting a complex ritual landscape. Each discovery deepens the puzzle rather than resolving it. Patterns in the carvings hint at early forms of symbolic thought, proto-writing, or even a nascent understanding of cosmology. Could Göbekli Tepe represent humanity's first attempt to encode meaning, to communicate ideas across generations without words? The silence of its stone pillars becomes a voice, speaking through time, inviting interpretation but offering no answers. The surrounding landscape also holds clues. Nearby hills and river valleys may have provided resources, water, and strategic vantage points, but the choice of this plateau, isolated, exposed, and harsh, adds to the enigma. It suggests intention, a deliberate selection for ceremonial purpose, not convenience. In the quiet of Anatolia, one can almost imagine the builders standing before the stones, gazing at the heavens, feeling the weight of their work and the fragility of human life beneath the vastness of sky. Göbekli Tepe challenges assumptions. It asks us to reconsider linear models of human development, to entertain the possibility that ritual, belief, and architectural ambition emerged before agriculture, before kings, before written history. It is both a monument and a question, a testament to what humans could achieve when guided by shared purpose, and a puzzle whose answers remain just beyond reach. As the sun sets over the plateau, shadows stretch across the carvings. The pillars stand silent yet eloquent, guardians of memory, or perhaps of secrets too profound to reveal. We may never know why they were built, who built them, or what knowledge they intended to preserve. Yet, Göbekli Tepe endures, a testament to human curiosity, imagination, and the enduring desire to leave a mark on the world, even when the world itself may not yet be ready to remember. It is a place where the past speaks in stone, where memory is etched in limestone, and where the first temple of the forgotten continues to whisper, through the ages, to those willing to listen. In the heart of the Bekaa Valley, where the mountains rise like ancient sentinels and the wind whispers through olive groves, lies a place of staggering scale and enduring mystery. Baalbek. From a distance, the Roman temples seem impossibly vast, but closer inspection reveals an even older secret. Beneath the grand columns of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus lie foundations of colossal stones, some weighing over 1,000 tons, arranged with a precision that defies explanation. These are not mere building blocks. They are monuments to ambition, to human, or perhaps pre-human ingenuity, placed with care that challenges modern engineering. The trilithon, 3 of the heaviest stones at Baalbek, each stretch nearly 20 meters long, 4 meters high, and weigh more than 1/200 tons. Nearby, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, still partially embedded in the quarry, weighs an estimated 1,650 tons, and beneath it, another monolith lies hidden, thought to exceed 1,800 tons. The questions arise immediately. How were these stones cut, transported, and positioned without cranes, levers, or machinery? And why were such monumental efforts undertaken in a world that, according to conventional timelines, lacked the technology to accomplish them? The origins of Baalbek are shrouded in layers of history and myth. Archaeological evidence points to continuous human occupation for millennia, dating back to at least 9,000 years ago. The Phoenicians first revered the site, dedicating it to Baal, their storm and fertility deity. The Greeks renamed it Heliopolis, the city of the sun, continuing its religious significance. Yet it was the Romans, arriving centuries later, who built the imposing temples visible today, apparently resting upon foundations far older than their own civilization. The precision of these foundations remains a puzzle. Stones fit together with almost no gaps, aligned so accurately that even modern surveyors marvel. The scale of the construction implies advanced knowledge of geometry and weight distribution, yet there are no records of the techniques used. Local traditions speak of giants, of beings capable of lifting and moving these stones as if they were pebbles. Legends attribute the work to King Solomon or ancient pre-flood civilizations, hinting at a collective memory that stretches far beyond recorded history. Geologists have examined the stones, confirming their extraordinary mass. Quarry marks suggest that they were carefully extracted from nearby bedrock, yet there is no clear evidence of how they were transported the hundreds of meters to their final positions. Some propose elaborate ramp systems, others suggest levers and manpower, but the scale of the task pushes these explanations to the edge of plausibility. Could a society so long ago have possessed engineering skills now lost to time? Or is there another story hidden in these stones, one that predates even the earliest known civilizations? Baalbek sits at the crossroads of myth and archaeology. Some researchers propose that its construction reflects a continuity of sacred knowledge passed down through generations, a tradition that links humanity to a forgotten past. Others argue that it may represent a ceremonial site built atop even older ruins, remnants of a culture that vanished beneath the sands and soil of time. The alignment of the platform and temples suggests deliberate astronomical observation, echoing other ancient sites where stone and sky meet in quiet conversation. The region's geological history offers another layer of mystery. The Bekaa Valley has been inhabited since the Neolithic, yet seismic activity, erosion, and shifting landscapes make it difficult to trace the exact origins of the massive foundations. Were these stones intended to withstand time and disaster, a symbolic defiance of mortality? Or were they the remnants of a civilization that had already endured environmental upheavals, preserving its knowledge in stone before vanishing? The Romans themselves seem to acknowledge the impossibility of moving such monoliths. Instead of attempting to lift the largest stones, they built atop them, integrating ancient foundations into their own temples. This choice raises questions. Did they recognize that the knowledge to manipulate these megaliths had been lost? Were they building upon the remnants of a civilization already regarded as legendary in their time? Local lore and myth add another dimension to Baalbek's story. Some legends speak of cosmic influence, of beings from the stars shaping the foundations. Others hint at hidden chambers beneath the stones, secret repositories of knowledge or treasure, yet none have been confirmed. The myths intertwine with historical fact, blurring the line between reality and imagination, leaving an impression that the site itself is alive with memory, speaking in ways that only time can decode. Baalbek also reminds us of scale. The human effort required to shape, transport, and place stones of such magnitude is almost incomprehensible. It is a testament not only to physical labor, but to planning, organization, and vision. Who conceived of such enormity? Who directed the work? And for what purpose? Was it devotion, ambition, or a desire to leave a permanent mark on the earth, one that might endure long after those who built it had passed? As the sun sets behind the Lebanese hills, shadows stretch across the stone blocks, accentuating their weight and geometry. The wind carries whispers of centuries past, of hands that shaped stone and minds that imagined impossible constructions. In the silence, one can almost hear the echoes of a civilization that dared to lift the earth itself, reaching for permanence in a world defined by impermanence. Baalbek is more than a temple complex. It is a bridge between eras, a point where myth and history converge, a place where the scale of human ambition meets the immensity of mystery. Every monolith, every carefully carved foundation stone, challenges the notion that ancient humanity was primitive. It suggests instead a lineage of knowledge, skill, and purpose that may stretch beyond the boundaries of recorded history, inviting us to reconsider what we know, or think we know, about the dawn of civilization. Even today, Baalbek guards its secrets. Archaeologists, historians, and dreamers continue to study its stones, attempting to piece together the story of those who moved mountains before history could record their names. The mystery remains unsolved, yet the site endures, a silent testament to ingenuity, devotion, and the timeless human desire to reach beyond the possible. In the quiet of the Bekaa Valley, the stones of the Titans continue to watch over the land, defying understanding, inviting contemplation, and reminding us that some secrets, no matter how massive or ancient, may never be fully revealed. Beneath the restless waters of the East China Sea, off the southern coast of Japan, lies a structure that has both fascinated and divided experts for decades. From above, the ocean appears calm, endless, and opaque. Yet below the surface, the sunlight catches jagged edges, sharp angles, and flat terraces. A landscape that seems almost unnatural, a city frozen beneath waves. This is the Yonaguni Monument. The first divers to encounter it in 1986 were stunned. What appeared at first to be ordinary rock formations slowly revealed patterns. Straight lines cut across the seabed. Terraces descended like the steps of an ancient temple. Rectangular platforms and wide, flat surfaces hinted at plazas. A network of channels and carved depressions suggested roads, or perhaps water management systems. It was a place that seemed designed for human habitation, yet it had been swallowed by the sea, hidden for thousands of years beneath shifting tides. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura has spent decades studying Yonaguni. He points to what he interprets as evidence of human modification: quarry marks, possible carvings, and a symmetry that seems too deliberate to be natural. To him, these terraces and steps are the remnants of a prehistoric culture, a civilization that flourished before rising sea levels erased much of its existence. Kimura's research dates some of the submerged features to at least 10,000 years ago, placing their construction around the end of the last ice age. Yet not all scholars agree. Critics argue that the formation is a natural phenomenon, sculpted by tectonic shifts, erosion, and fracturing of the sedimentary rock. They note that similar sharp-edged formations occur elsewhere along the Japanese coastline, where geological forces can mimic the appearance of man-made structures. To these scientists, the steps are nothing more than a product of time, shaped by the relentless push and pull of ocean currents and earthquakes. The debate touches on something deeper than mere rocks. Yonaguni sits at the intersection of myth, memory, and science. If it was indeed a city, what could have happened to its inhabitants? The timing corresponds with the dramatic climatic shifts of the late Pleistocene. As the last ice age ended, melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise rapidly, flooding coastal settlements across the globe. Perhaps Yonaguni was once a thriving coastal metropolis, erased almost overnight, leaving only stone terraces and channels as silent witnesses. Diving along the monument, explorers describe a labyrinth of submerged streets, some stretching hundreds of meters interspersed with plazas that might once have served as gathering places. Angular blocks suggest walls or foundations. Some terraces appear to have been deliberately leveled, hinting at planning and architectural knowledge. One area resembles a stepped pyramid, a reminder of other ancient cultures who expressed power and devotion through monumental construction. Curiously, some carvings seem to echo symbols found in other ancient societies, though no direct connection has been proven. Kimura speculates that a shared architectural language might have existed among early seafaring communities, now lost to history. The idea of a global network of prehistoric cultures capable of monumental construction and maritime navigation is tantalizing, though controversial. The Yonaguni monument also raises questions about human resilience. If this was a city, its inhabitants may have experienced the slow encroachment of water over decades, or perhaps the sudden devastation of a massive tsunami. Artifacts and organic remains are scarce, leaving only stone as a testament. Yet the scale and design of the terraces imply that someone, long ago, envisioned these structures with intent and care. Beyond the scientific debate, Yonaguni evokes something primal in the imagination. The sight of straight lines beneath shifting waves of flat surfaces interrupted by sharp corners creates a sense of presence. It feels as if a civilization that once existed beneath the sun has been erased, leaving only its stone echo behind. The monument becomes a mirror, reflecting our own curiosity about survival, memory, and the fragility of human achievement. Satellite images of the region hint at even more submerged features, some yet unexplored. Could Yonaguni be part of a larger network of lost settlements, scattered across a sunken landscape? In recent years, underwater drones and sonar mapping have revealed anomalies suggesting additional terraces and structures. Each discovery deepens the mystery, prompting more questions than answers. Yonaguni also resonates with global legends. Across cultures, myths speak of cities swallowed by the sea. From Atlantis to Dwarka, from the biblical flood to Hindu epics, the theme of submerged civilization appears repeatedly. Perhaps Yonaguni is one fragment of a memory shared across millennia, a physical trace that inspired stories passed down through oral traditions. Or perhaps it is nature's own mimicry, sculpted with a precision that imitates human design. The monument challenges assumptions about the timeline of human civilization. If humans were constructing such complex terraces 10,000 years ago, it suggests a sophistication previously thought impossible for post-Ice Age coastal societies. Social organization, engineering skills, and an understanding of large-scale construction would have been necessary. The submerged terraces of Yonaguni invite us to reconsider what humans were capable of in prehistory, and what knowledge may have been lost with rising seas. As divers glide above the terraces, the sunlight refracts in shifting patterns, illuminating corners that may have once been homes, temples, or public spaces. Tiny fish weave through crevices, transforming the ruins into living mosaics of movement and light. The sea has become both a guardian and a storyteller, preserving the memory of a civilization that has long since vanished. Yonaguni remains a silent enigma. Whether shaped by human hands or carved by the forces of nature, its terraces and steps speak to the passage of time, to loss, and to endurance. They remind us that history is layered, that beneath our assumptions lies a world older and more intricate than we can imagine. And so, the city beneath the waves endures, hidden yet visible, challenging observers to look closer, to question what is natural and what is crafted, and to listen to the echoes of a past that refuses to be forgotten. The Sahara stretches endlessly, a sea of gold under a relentless sun. Winds sculpt dunes into shifting waves, and the silence feels eternal. Yet, hidden within this desert expanse lies a formation that has captivated explorers and scientists alike. The Risha structure, known to many as the Eye of the Sahara. From the sky, it appears as a perfect bullseye. Concentric rings stretching across 50 kilometers of barren landscape, each layer a ripple frozen in stone. For decades, the Risha structure was dismissed as a geological anomaly. Geologists described it as a symmetrical uplift, a dome eroded over time by wind and water. Yet its proportions, symmetry, and scale invite questions that science struggles to answer. Viewed from above, the formation evokes a pattern strikingly similar to the concentric design described by Plato in his account of Atlantis. Rings of land and water radiating outward from a central hub. The resemblance is uncanny, and it has led some to wonder if this desert remnant preserves a memory of an ancient civilization long erased by shifting sands. Archaeologists and historians debate its significance. The local terrain shows traces of sedimentation and erosion consistent with natural forces. But within those circles, there are subtle anomalies. Depressions and elevated areas that hint at human modification, terraces that could have supported dwellings, and straight alignments that seem deliberate. Could this have been more than a geological coincidence? Could the Sahara once have hosted a thriving society, a city of immense scale that vanished under climatic change? Centuries ago, the region was not the desert we know today. Paleo-environmental studies suggest that the Sahara was once a lush, green landscape, dotted with lakes, rivers, and forests. During the African humid period, roughly 12,000 to 5,000 years ago, humans could have thrived here, building settlements, cultivating crops, and navigating waterways. The transformation from verdant land to arid desert would have forced populations to migrate, leaving stone circles and terraces as silent witnesses to a vanished way of life. The Eye of the Sahara raises another compelling question. Its sheer scale suggests knowledge of urban planning, geometry, and large-scale coordination. For ancient civilizations, constructing concentric formations of such size would require sophisticated surveying techniques and organizational skill. Could it be that early humans possessed knowledge long thought impossible for that period? Or does the pattern reflect a natural symmetry that coincidentally mirrors the descriptions preserved in myth? The Eye also appears in regional folklore, whispered stories passed down through generations. Some local legends speak of cities swallowed by sandstorms, of civilizations wiped from memory by catastrophic floods or shifting rivers. These oral traditions, while fragmentary, echo the broader mythos of lost lands, from Atlantis to Kumari Kandam, from Shambhala to submerged coastal cities across the globe. Perhaps these legends preserve distant memories of the Sahara when it was fertile, alive, and home to thriving societies. Satellite imagery has opened new doors to exploration. Modern technology reveals subtle linear features, rectilinear depressions, and geometric anomalies within the rings. These formations hint at roads, walls, or canals that might have structured the landscape, though erosion and millennia of wind have obscured the details. LiDAR and aerial surveys allow researchers to see beneath sand and soil, revealing features that might otherwise remain invisible, blurring the line between natural and human-made. Some theorists have speculated that the Risha structure could be the remnants of a black pyramid, or perhaps a complex of temples and ceremonial spaces. The concentric rings may have served symbolic purposes, designed to reflect cosmology or religious belief. In this interpretation, the Eye becomes more than a geological formation. It is a portal into human imagination, a marker of how early societies may have encoded knowledge into their environment. Yet evidence is fragmentary. No definitive artifacts or inscriptions have been recovered. No skeletal remains hint at the lives that may have been lived here. The desert, vast and unyielding, has swallowed much, leaving only pattern, scale, and mystery. And perhaps that is its most haunting quality. The Richa structure exists as a challenge, a question carved in stone and sand, teasing observers with its silent geometry. When Plato described Atlantis, he spoke of a civilization with concentric rings of land and water, a central hub crowned by a grand temple. He placed it beyond the Pillars of Hercules, yet the similarity in form between his description and the Richa structure is compelling. Could Plato have been inspired by distant memories of African landscapes now lost to time? Or is it simply coincidence, a testament to humanity's tendency to see pattern and meaning even in the chaos of nature? Some researchers propose that the Sahara's transformation played a role in the loss of knowledge. As the desert expanded, once thriving settlements would have been abandoned, their structures buried under sand, slowly decaying under wind and sun. Over thousands of years, any trace of civilization could have been erased, leaving only the circular pattern as a faint whisper of what once was. In this sense, the Richa structure becomes a monument to absence, a puzzle of scale and intention that may never fully reveal its origins. Modern explorers descend into the eye, walking along ridges and depressions, tracing lines that may have guided ancient people. The sand is fine, the heat pressing down, yet the monument evokes awe, a sense of connection to something vast and ancient. It is a reminder that landscapes carry memory, that stone can preserve echoes of human intent, and that even deserts, seemingly empty, may conceal histories that stretch beyond our understanding. The Eye of the Sahara remains enigmatic. Its concentric design invites speculation, blending geology and myth, memory and imagination. It challenges the assumption that deserts are lifeless and that ancient civilizations left no trace. Whether a natural formation, a ceremonial site, or the faint imprint of a lost city, it compels us to look closer, to question the narratives of history, and to wonder what has been hidden beneath the sands for millennia. And as the sun sets over the Sahara, casting long shadows across its endless dunes, the eye stares back in silence, an ancient witness to the rise and fall of time, daring observers to uncover the secrets that lie within its concentric rings. The Amazon rainforest stretches beyond sight, an endless ocean of green. Its canopy pulses with life, a symphony of birdsong, insects, and the whisper of leaves swaying in the humid air. To the untrained eye, it seems untouched, wild, eternal. Yet beneath this living carpet lies a secret, hidden for thousands of years. From the sky, satellite imagery begins to reveal faint traces. Geometric lines etched into the earth, straight roads cutting through the dense forest, circular enclosures, and rectangular platforms arranged with precision. At first glance, these patterns seem impossible, as if the jungle itself had been reshaped by a hand long vanished. LiDAR scans, piercing through layers of foliage, confirm what satellites only hinted at: an extensive network of ancient roads, canals, and settlements buried beneath the green. For centuries, explorers assumed the Amazon was a pristine wilderness, incapable of supporting complex civilizations. Dense vegetation, nutrient-poor soil, and flooding made the idea of large-scale human settlement seem improbable. Yet the evidence emerging from LiDAR tells a different story. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, the forest conceals thousands of rectangular platforms, mounds, and terraces, forming entire urban landscapes. Some structures are as large as football fields, their precise alignment suggesting careful planning and social organization. Roads connect these platforms, cutting through areas where no modern path exists. Canals suggest water management, irrigation systems, or perhaps transport networks for trade. The scale is staggering. This was not the work of a small tribe, but of a civilization capable of reshaping its environment. Yet time and nature reclaimed their domain. Trees sprouted where walls once stood, roots shattered terraces, and the rainforest gradually erased the details of human endeavor. Centuries earlier, during the Amazon's pre-Columbian period, the region may have been home to hundreds of thousands of people. Archaeological finds, including pottery, tools, and evidence of agriculture, confirmed that large organized communities once thrived here. Crops like manioc, maize, and sweet potatoes were cultivated systematically, showing knowledge of soil management and seasonal cycles. Yet the rainforest obscured the full extent of these settlements until modern technology began to illuminate what had been invisible for millennia. The geometric precision of the buried roads raises profound questions. Why build straight avenues across dense jungle? What purpose did circular plazas and interconnected platforms serve? Some researchers propose ceremonial or religious significance, likening them to urban planning in ancient Mesopotamia or Mesoamerica. Others see evidence of sophisticated governance, perhaps early city-states coordinating labor, trade, and agriculture across vast territories. The discovery of these roads also challenges conventional narratives of human development. For decades, the Amazon was considered inhospitable to complex society. Scholars imagined small nomadic groups eking out survival along rivers, leaving no permanent footprint. Yet these findings suggest otherwise, that large populations could thrive, organize labor, and create lasting monuments even in a landscape as challenging as the rainforest. Some of the most striking features are the causeways, elevated roads cutting through wetlands, connecting settlements across rivers and swamps. These raised pathways, constructed with layers of earth and stone, demonstrate not only engineering skill but environmental understanding. Builders accounted for seasonal flooding, soil compaction, and long-term durability, ensuring that their roads remained functional for generations. Canals intersect these roads, forming intricate networks that may have supported transportation, irrigation, or flood control. Circular plazas appear at regular intervals, possibly serving as centers of commerce, ceremony, or governance. Each element fits into a larger plan, suggesting a vision far beyond what previous generations of explorers imagined. Oddly, the forest has preserved many of these structures better than open sites elsewhere. The thick canopy shields the earth from wind and rain, while fallen leaves and decomposing organic matter create layers that hide foundations. Only with LiDAR, which emits laser pulses to measure the distance between sensors and the ground, can archaeologists penetrate the green and map the hidden cityscape in 3 dimensions. Some researchers propose that these buried roads and settlements may have existed long before previously thought, dating back more than 2,000 years. Others suggest even older origins, connecting them to early human migrations and the spread of agricultural knowledge across South America. In this sense, the Amazon becomes a palimpsest, a layered archive of civilizations buried under time and vegetation. Yet, much remains unknown. No inscriptions or written records have been found to explain the builders' intentions. Skeptics argue that these patterns could be natural, the product of erosion, root growth, or animal activity. But the scale, regularity, and interconnection of the features make natural formation unlikely. The evidence suggests deliberate human planning, a civilization whose memory the jungle has kept secret for centuries. Explorers venturing into these newly revealed landscapes report a surreal experience. Walking along hidden causeways, they feel the weight of history pressing down, a sense of connection with those who shaped the land long before the rise of empires in distant continents. The jungle hums around them, indifferent to human presence, yet somehow preserves a record of ingenuity, survival, and adaptation. Meanwhile, comparative studies hint at broader patterns. Across the globe, from the Amazon to the African Sahara, from Central Asia to the Mediterranean, researchers find evidence of ancient networks and cityscapes hidden beneath vegetation, sand, or ice. Could the buried roads of the Amazon be part of a larger story? One in which humans have shaped landscapes for millennia, leaving traces that modern eyes are only beginning to perceive? The rainforest, dense and unyielding, does not give up its secrets easily. Every discovery leads to new questions. How many cities remain concealed beneath its canopy? How did these societies interact with their environment, and why were they eventually abandoned? Did climatic shifts, floods, or resource scarcity lead to their disappearance? Or did other forces, human or natural, erase them from memory? As drones and LiDAR sweep across the green expanse, new roads emerge, revealing connections that hint at complex regional planning. Patterns once invisible to the human eye appear with startling clarity. The Amazon, it seems, has been holding its breath for centuries, waiting for the moment when technology could lift the veil and reveal the ghosts of its ancient architects. And as sunlight filters through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor, one can almost imagine the footsteps of those long gone, walking along roads built with care, carrying tools, goods, and stories of a civilization that time forgot. The jungle hides them still, but now, at last, their presence is no longer entirely invisible. High above the clouds, the Himalayas rise like jagged teeth against the pale morning sky. Snow drifts over silent valleys, and the wind carries whispers across frozen ridges. Here, in the remoteness of these peaks, Tibetan texts speak of Shambhala, a kingdom concealed from ordinary sight, radiant and eternal, hidden within mountains or perhaps beneath the earth itself. Shambhala is described not merely as a city, but as a realm of perfection. Its palaces glow with gold and precious stones, gardens bloom in geometric harmony, and its people are said to live free from suffering, guided by wisdom and virtue. Concentric rings of streets, temples, and gardens echo cosmic patterns mirroring the mandalas used in meditation, a city arranged in celestial order. At its center stands the palace of the Kalki king, a ruler who safeguards the kingdom as secret knowledge and awaits a time when the world will descend into chaos. The texts speak of a prophecy. When darkness spreads and humanity falters, the final king of Shambhala will emerge with an enlightened army, restoring balance and ushering in a new era. Some interpret this as a spiritual metaphor, a lesson in inner transformation, the victory of consciousness over ignorance. Others wonder whether it is more than allegory, a veiled memory of a society that once existed, hidden to survive calamity. Legends describe Shambhala as inaccessible to those who are unprepared. Only the pure of heart or the spiritually awakened can find its gates. It is a place removed from the ordinary world, where time bends and ordinary laws do not apply. Yet explorers and mystics throughout history have attempted to locate it. In the 1930s, a Nazi expedition led by Ernst Schaefer traversed the harsh Tibetan terrain under the orders of Heinrich Himmler in search of evidence of ancient wisdom and hidden civilizations. Records suggest they sought Shambhala, hoping to uncover knowledge that might elevate their ideology, though whether they believed the city literal or symbolic remains unclear. Shambhala's descriptions often intersect with other myths. Some connect it to Agartha, a subterranean network said to stretch beneath continents, linking hidden civilizations across the globe. Others suggest parallels with the lost cities of Atlantis or Lemuria, societies preserved in legend after cataclysmic floods or climate shifts. These stories, found across continents and cultures, speak of civilizations erased from surface memory, yet surviving in isolated, protected refuges. The mystery deepens when considering the Himalayan landscape itself. Valleys and high-altitude caves remain largely unexplored. Geological formations, glacial shifts, and hidden passes create natural fortifications, capable of shielding settlements from view for centuries. Could Shambhala, if physical, have been deliberately hidden within such a labyrinth? Some scholars suggest that oral traditions may encode knowledge of migration routes, subterranean shelters, or high-altitude refuges used by ancient communities during periods of environmental stress. Spiritual practices further obscure the line between myth and memory. Tibetan monks have preserved intricate maps of Shambhala, drawn with symbolic precision rather than geographic accuracy. Yet these maps, combined with chants, meditation practices, and ceremonial texts, hint at a sophisticated understanding of cosmology, astronomy, and geometry. It is a form of knowledge encoded in allegory, perhaps to protect sacred wisdom from misuse. Speculative theories propose that Shambhala might represent a repository of knowledge from a pre-Ice Age civilization, preserved by select survivors who retreated into inaccessible regions. Echoes of advanced architecture, precise astronomy, and complex social organization in early Himalayan societies raise questions. Could these remote populations have inherited wisdom from a lost world? Could the legends of Shambhala preserve fragments of that memory, encoded in story and ritual, waiting for discovery? The allure of Shambhala is not merely historical, but psychological. It embodies the human desire for sanctuary, for a place untouched by suffering, where wisdom is absolute and time is measured differently. In a world of turmoil and environmental change, the idea of a hidden kingdom offers hope. A vision of what civilization might achieve if guided by balance, harmony, and understanding. Modern explorers occasionally attempt to find physical traces. Remote monasteries, hidden valleys, and ancient cave complexes are surveyed with drones, LiDAR, and satellite imaging. Yet, no definitive evidence confirms Shambhala's existence as a literal city. Still, the search itself influences local communities, scientific study, and spiritual practice. The legend persists, shaping perception of the Himalayas as more than mountain peaks, as a landscape of memory, myth, and possibility. Whether allegory, hidden reality, or something in between, Shambhala remains a symbol of mystery. Its story invites reflection. Are some civilizations lost to history, preserved only in myth? Or do they survive, cloaked in secrecy, awaiting the moment when humanity is ready to rediscover them? And as the wind sweeps across Himalayan passes carrying snow and silence, one can almost hear the echoes of Shambhala. A city of light hidden in shadow, a kingdom beyond reach, yet lingering in the collective memory of humankind. Beneath a canopy of ice, Antarctica lies silent, its surface a frozen wasteland of wind-sculpted ridges and endless white. The continent stretches across the horizon, seemingly untouched by time, yet beneath its glacial crust may lie secrets older than recorded history. Ancient maps, like the Peary Race chart of 1513, depict coastlines and landforms that bear an uncanny resemblance to parts of Antarctica, before it was buried beneath ice. Could this frozen expanse once have been green and thriving, a home to civilizations now erased from memory? The Peary Race map, drawn by a Turkish admiral and cartographer, combines fragments of older charts, some believed to date back to antiquity. It portrays the northern coast of South America, the Atlantic Islands, and, intriguingly, outlines that seem to match the Antarctic coastline. What is striking is the precision of these depictions, seemingly impossible for a map created centuries before modern surveying techniques. For centuries, scholars have debated whether the chart reflects ancient knowledge passed down across generations, or mere coincidence interpreted through imagination. Some theorists propose that Antarctica, before its icy shroud, hosted a temperate environment, rich with flora and fauna. Geological evidence supports this idea. Fossilized forests, pollen samples, and ancient sediment layers suggest that the continent once enjoyed a climate capable of sustaining life. Could advanced prehistoric societies have inhabited these coasts, building settlements, cultivating the land, and navigating seas that are now frozen solid? This hypothesis intersects with speculation about global cataclysms. During the end of the last ice age, approximately 11,600 years ago, rapid climate shifts, pole shifts, and glacial melting reshaped coastlines and submerged vast areas of habitable land. It is possible that human settlements on Antarctica were overwhelmed by sudden environmental changes, leaving no trace except in fragmented legends and the faint outlines preserved in ancient maps. Supporters of this theory also point to unusual topographical formations beneath the ice, revealed through modern radar and satellite imaging. Hidden mountains, river valleys, and flat expanses suggest that beneath the glaciers, a landscape of complexity persists. Some speculate these could conceal remnants of cities or structures, their outlines obscured by millennia of ice and snow. The Antarctic enigma also touches on myths and folklore from around the world. Ancient texts describe lands lost to the sea or buried under ice, inhabited by people whose knowledge and technology surpassed what later civilizations achieved. Plato's Atlantis, the legends of Lemuria, and the flood myths of Mesopotamia may all echo memories of catastrophic changes in polar and coastal regions, hinting at a global pattern of lost civilizations. Yet, mainstream science remains cautious. There is no direct archaeological evidence of human habitation on Antarctica in prehistoric times. Ice cores, sediment layers, and fossil records indicate that while life existed during warmer periods, there is no proof of advanced settlements. Critics argue that ancient maps like Piri Reis may reflect imaginative reconstructions, errors in copying earlier charts, or a compilation of explorers' accounts rather than factual knowledge of lost continents. Still, anomalies persist. Some scholars note that the map seems to depict mountain ranges and coastal indentations with surprising accuracy, suggesting access to knowledge far older than the map itself. Could this knowledge have been passed down from seafaring civilizations that predated recorded history, preserved in oral tradition and fragmented cartography? The possibility tantalizes the imagination. Modern expeditions have begun to probe these mysteries with technology unavailable to ancient cartographers. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, and ice-penetrating LiDAR scans reveal hidden features beneath kilometers of ice. In some regions, linear formations, unusual depressions, and concentric patterns hint at potential human influence, though confirmation remains elusive. Every discovery raises new questions, forcing a reconsideration of what Antarctica might have been before the Ice Age transformed it into a frozen desert. The idea of a lost Antarctic civilization challenges our understanding of human history. If people ever thrived here, their culture, architecture, and knowledge would have vanished under catastrophic climate shifts, leaving only whispers in ancient legends, subtle hints in maps, and traces in the ice itself. The continent becomes a symbol of both human fragility and the persistence of memory, evidence that civilizations, no matter how advanced, are vulnerable to the forces of nature. And yet, Antarctica's enigma continues to captivate. From the icy plateau to hidden valleys beneath glaciers, the potential for discovery remains immense. Could future explorers, armed with technology that peers through ice and time, uncover remnants of a society that existed before the rise of recorded history? Or will the continent remain a silent sentinel, guarding its secrets beneath an eternal frost? As the wind howls across the frozen expanse, carrying with it the cold of millennia, one cannot help but wonder. Beneath the ice lies a story, waiting for those willing to listen. A story of survival, disappearance, and the enduring mystery of human endeavor at the edges of the known world. 12,000 years ago, the Earth trembled under forces that would reshape continents and erase civilizations. The last vestiges of the Ice Age gave way to sudden warming, and with it came torrents of water that surged across valleys, plains, and coastlines. The Younger Dryas, a period of abrupt climate reversal, had ended. Glaciers that had held back oceans for millennia began to retreat, releasing immense volumes of meltwater. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Animals vanished. Rivers carved new paths. And human settlements, some of which may have rivaled the sophistication of early Mesopotamia, disappeared beneath rising seas. Stories of deluges ripple through every ancient culture. The biblical account of Noah, the Hindu legend of Manu, the Greek myth of Deucalion, all speak of a world submerged by water. Could these tales be the echoes of a shared memory, passed down through generations, of a cataclysm that truly reshaped human civilization? Perhaps they are distorted recollections of events so vast and violent that only myth could capture their magnitude. As glaciers melted, sea levels rose at a pace that would have seemed incomprehensible to prehistoric humans. Entire coastlines vanished, taking with them fertile lands, fishing villages, and early urban centers. Submerged river valleys, once home to thriving communities, now lie under hundreds of meters of water. The inundation was not gradual. In some regions, the rise was swift, leaving little time for populations to adapt or migrate. Archaeologists speculate that some lost cities of legend, including the fabled Atlantis, may have succumbed during this chaotic transition. Evidence from geology and ice cores supports this vision. Sediment layers indicate massive freshwater pulses into the oceans. Megafauna, from mammoths to giant sloths, disappeared in synchrony with these environmental upheavals. Humans, then scattered in hunter-gatherer societies, faced food scarcity, shifting landscapes, and new predators. It is plausible that any complex settlements with infrastructure and monuments could have been erased entirely, the very memory of their existence sinking into oblivion. Meanwhile, as the ice retreated, new possibilities emerged. Coastal plains once hidden beneath glaciers became habitable. Freshwater lakes and fertile valleys appeared, offering opportunity for early agricultural societies to develop. Yet, the remnants of older civilizations were already lost, leaving only traces of their ingenuity scattered across the planet. Stones, tools, and the occasional megalith may remain, but the cities themselves, their art, and their knowledge could have been swept away by the relentless floods. Some researchers point to submerged structures worldwide as evidence of this cataclysm. Off the coast of India, the ruins near Dwarka suggest a city inundated by rising seas. In the Mediterranean, hints of lost settlements lie beneath shallow waters. Even in the Caribbean and Atlantic, underwater formations hint at human construction predating recorded history. These discoveries, tentative though they may be, support the idea that the melting ice was not merely a backdrop for natural change, but a force that directly contributed to the disappearance of advanced societies. Legends, myths, and oral traditions offer additional insight. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh recounts a flood so vast that only one man, warned by divine intervention, survives to repopulate the world. In ancient India, Manu receives the knowledge of impending flood and builds a vessel to save life. In Greece, Deucalion and Pyrrha endure torrents that destroy their world. Across the Pacific, similar stories emerge, describing waves that swallowed entire islands and reshaped the ocean itself. The universality of these accounts hints at a global phenomenon, remembered not in precise dates or measurements, but in the enduring language of narrative. Scientific theories have attempted to reconstruct the mechanics of this deluge. Some suggest that massive glacial lakes, held back by ice dams, suddenly collapsed, releasing pent-up water with catastrophic force. Others propose that comet impacts, or other celestial events, triggered sudden warming and flooding. Whatever the cause, the effect on human civilization would have been profound. Networks of early communities destroyed, knowledge lost, and survivors forced to adapt or perish. Yet, amidst the devastation, life endured. Human ingenuity found new ways to survive and thrive. As coastlines shifted and rivers changed course, communities migrated inland, rebuilding cultures from the fragments of a shattered past. The melting ice, while annihilating many settlements, also created the conditions for new human expansion. Freshwater lakes, fertile plains, and milder climates offered opportunity for growth, planting the seeds for the civilizations that would rise thousands of years later. This period also reshaped human memory. Oral traditions preserved fragments of catastrophe, encoding them as myths, religious rites, and cultural narratives. Tales of great floods, divine wrath, and lost lands became the scaffolding of collective human memory, a bridge connecting survivors to their vanished ancestors. Perhaps Atlantis, Lemuria, and other lost civilizations are not purely allegorical. Perhaps they reflect faint echoes of societies erased when the ice melted, a warning carried through millennia. The traces of the Younger Dryas floods are still visible today. Underwater archaeology reveals foundations of cities swallowed by seas. Coastal erosion exposes tools, pottery, and human remains. Geological layers record the sudden influx of meltwater, sediment, and debris. Each fragment offers a glimpse of a vanished world, a civilization swallowed by the rising waters, leaving only whispers for us to hear. And yet, many questions remain unanswered. How advanced were these early societies? What knowledge did they possess, and what artifacts might still lie hidden beneath oceans or sediments? Could the rise and fall of these civilizations have influenced the myths and religious stories that persist across cultures? As we piece together the evidence, the story of the ice melt challenges the linear narrative of human history, suggesting that the past is far more complex, layered, and mysterious than previously imagined. As the glaciers receded, the world transformed. Entire chapters of human history were written in water, erased in a single cataclysmic moment, yet preserved in the stories we continue to tell. And perhaps, somewhere beneath the waves or buried beneath sediment, the cities of this forgotten age still wait, silent, submerged, and suspended in time, waiting for the day when their secrets might finally surface. The memory of these vanished worlds endures, a haunting reminder of nature's power and humanity's fragile place within it. Long before written history, the Earth was a landscape of mountains, rivers, and valleys, and into this world humans cast their gaze upward, toward myths that dwarfed their own existence. Across every continent, from the fertile plains of Mesopotamia to the windswept hills of Scotland, stories whisper of beings far larger than ordinary men, giants who walked among early humans, shaping the land, carving stone, and leaving traces that seem almost impossible to reconcile with known history. In the Old Testament, the Nephilim are described as towering figures, offspring of divine beings and mortals, who roamed the earth in ages long past. Ancient Greece speaks of the Titans, colossal entities whose battles shaped mountains and seas. Across India, the Mahabharata recounts warriors of immense size and strength, capable of moving chariots with a single hand and lifting weapons that would crush ordinary men. Even in the Americas, native legends tell of stone giants who built monumental structures before vanishing into myth. Skeptics dismiss these tales as allegory, poetic exaggeration to explain natural phenomena or moral lessons. Yet, scattered fragments of evidence continue to emerge, teasing the boundaries between myth and history. Archaeologists have occasionally uncovered oversized tools, hammers, and chisels, too large for a normal human hand. Skeletal remains, sometimes over 7 or 8 feet tall, have been found in caves, burial mounds, and sedimentary deposits. Whether these are genuine traces of giants or anomalies of preservation is fiercely debated. One striking example comes from the United States. Reports from the 19th and early 20th centuries describe skeletons measuring over 9 feet in length, sometimes with unusual cranial shapes. Many of these finds were quickly lost, destroyed, or suppressed, fueling speculation about deliberate concealment. Could it be that evidence contradicting the mainstream narrative of human history was quietly hidden? Or were these merely misinterpretations of natural anomalies? Across Europe, the legends of giants are often tied to monumental stonework. Standing stones, megalithic walls, and cairns are said to bear witness to hands larger than ordinary humans. The Scottish Highlands, for instance, are rich with tales of Fionn mac Cumhaill and the Fianna, warriors whose feats of strength reshaped the landscape. Some researchers suggest that these stories, repeated over generations, may encode memories of an earlier people, unusually tall and powerful, whose traces survive only in myth and stone. In South America, tales of enormous beings appear alongside advanced constructions in the Andes. Massive stones in sites such as Sacsayhuaman in Peru Some, weighing hundreds of tons, are often attributed in local lore to giants. Modern archaeologists marvel at the precision and scale of these structures, admitting that even with contemporary technology, moving such stones would be a monumental task. Could the stories of giants have originated as explanations for structures that seemed beyond human capacity, or do they hint at something more literal? Beings of extraordinary size who once shaped the world. Some researchers look to fossil evidence for clues. Paleolithic sites occasionally yield skeletal remains far taller than average humans, though these finds are rare. Some propose that environmental factors, genetic variation, or even unknown hominid species might account for these anomalies. Could a race of humans, now extinct, have possessed the stature and strength to inspire the legends of giants that echo across civilizations? The idea of giants also appears intertwined with the building of megalithic sites around the globe. Baalbek in Lebanon, with its massive trilithon stones, has long puzzled historians and engineers. Local traditions attribute their construction to titanic hands. In India, the monolithic statues of Easter Island, while smaller than some myths suggest, were moved in ways that confound conventional explanations, leading some to suggest guidance by extraordinary human strength, perhaps the remnants of a forgotten race. Even within mythology, giants are frequently portrayed as custodians of knowledge, protectors of sacred sites, or intermediaries between humans and the divine. In many accounts, their disappearance coincides with cataclysmic events, floods, fires, and divine punishments. Could these narratives preserve faint memories of a civilization lost in prehistory, whose unusually large people were wiped from the world, leaving behind monumental evidence in stone? In Africa, the Dogon people recount the Nomo, amphibious, tall beings from the sky who brought knowledge of astronomy and civilization. Such myths often blend the cosmic and the terrestrial, suggesting that giants were not merely physical entities, but carriers of wisdom, perhaps even the architects of early technological or cultural achievements that ordinary humans could not replicate. Yet, not all giants are benevolent. In many cultures, they embody chaos, danger, or the raw power of nature. They are frequently adversaries in creation myths, wresting control from gods or humans before being cast down. Could these tales reflect early human encounters with beings who were real but unpredictable? Or are they symbolic expressions of humanity as a struggle to master a world shaped by forces far beyond its control? Across the globe, the pattern is consistent. Massive beings, extraordinary strength, construction beyond human scale, and myths that endure through centuries. Whether they were literal giants, metaphorical constructs, or misunderstood evidence of advanced ancient peoples, their imprint lingers in folklore, oral history, and the landscape itself. The debate continues. Mainstream archaeology often dismisses claims of literal giants as myth. Yet, anomalies in the archaeological record, oversized implements, and skeletal irregularities refuse to vanish completely from inquiry. Each discovery, lost bone, megalithic alignment, or legend, adds weight to the possibility that our understanding of early human history remains incomplete. Could the giants of old have truly walked among us, shaping mountains, carving stones, and leaving behind traces now buried beneath soil and memory? Or are they enduring symbols, reflections of humanity's awe of nature and its own potential for greatness? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between, where myth preserves faint recollections of real beings whose stories were never meant to be fully understood, only remembered. The giants remain, silent yet present, their footprints scattered across continents and centuries, calling out from the distant past. In their shadow, we are left to wonder, how much of history has been lost to time, swallowed by memory, and preserved only in legend? Long before the invention of telescopes or the mathematics of orbit, ancient humans looked upward. The night sky stretched infinitely, a vast canvas of points of light, and across every continent, civilizations sought to understand, measure, and align themselves with the cosmos. They built, stone by stone, mound by mound, monument by monument. They inscribed the heavens into the earth, leaving clues of a knowledge that seems both timeless and almost impossibly advanced. The pyramids of Giza are perhaps the most famous of these celestial constructions. Their alignment is precise, the sides of the Great Pyramid almost perfectly parallel to the cardinal directions, with an error of less than 1/60th of a degree. The three major pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure appear to mirror the three stars of Orion's belt, a constellation linked in Egyptian mythology to Osiris, god of the afterlife. Scholars argue about the precision achievable with Bronze Age tools, yet the arrangement suggests an intentionality that transcends mere coincidence. Across the Fertile Crescent, ziggurats rose skyward, their stepped platforms reaching for the heavens. From Ur to Babylon, these structures were more than temples. They were observatories, calendars, and instruments of cosmic alignment. The Mesopotamians tracked lunar and solar cycles, plotted eclipses, and developed sophisticated astronomical tables. Their monuments were not just markers of religious devotion, but repositories of celestial knowledge, encoded in stone for generations to interpret. Thousands of kilometers away, the megalithic circles of Europe, Stonehenge, Karnak, and Callanish, echo this same obsession with the sky. The massive stones, arranged in precise alignments with solstices and equinoxes, suggest that even prehistoric societies were not merely surviving. They were measuring time, predicting seasons, and observing patterns in the heavens. What inspired such accuracy? Could it have been independent ingenuity or the inheritance of an older, global tradition? In Mesoamerica, the Maya and the Aztecs constructed pyramids and observatories that reflected the movements of Venus, the Sun, and the Moon. The Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza, with its precise shadows during the equinox, creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down its steps. This alignment is so exact that it suggests knowledge of solar mechanics, long before modern calculations. Similarly, the Temple of the Sun in Teotihuacan aligns with mountain peaks and celestial events, showing a deliberate integration of landscape and sky. Many researchers have noted parallels between these ancient sites. Pyramids in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and elsewhere share geometrical ratios, cardinal orientations, and astronomical alignments. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the stone circles of Britain, and the observatories of the Maya all encode knowledge of the cosmos in architecture. Could these be independent discoveries? Or do they hint at a forgotten global network of knowledge transmitted across millennia, spanning continents and oceans? The precision of these structures often goes beyond practical utility. Some scholars argue that the builders were guided by ritual, mythology, or spiritual imperatives, aligning their constructions with the heavens to honor gods or mark sacred times. Others suggest a deeper intelligence, perhaps a collective understanding of astronomy and mathematics passed down from an earlier civilization now lost to time. Göbekli Tepe, over 12,000 years old, adds to the mystery. Its massive pillars, decorated with animals and abstract symbols, may encode celestial observations. Some researchers propose that the site functioned as a ritual calendar, guiding early hunter-gatherers through seasonal cycles. If so, the builders were not only constructing temples, but also preserving knowledge of the sky long before the development of formal writing. The pyramids and megaliths are not merely monuments of stone. They are messages in a language of geometry, shadow, and alignment. Across Asia, the ziggurats and step pyramids of ancient China, like those in Xi'an, align with cardinal points and nearby celestial phenomena. Similar alignments appear in India at sites such as the Sun Temple of Konark and the ancient city layouts described in the Vastu Shastra, linking earthly dwellings to cosmic order. Some researchers propose that this universal orientation reflects an ancient understanding of the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that takes approximately 26,000 years to complete a cycle. Could our ancestors, through careful observation over generations, have recognized these long-term celestial shifts? And if so, did they leave encoded warnings, calendars, or sacred knowledge for future generations? Legends from around the world speak of sky-born teachers, divine engineers, or enlightened beings who imparted knowledge of the stars to early humans. In Egypt, Thoth, god of wisdom, is credited with teaching mathematics and astronomy. In Mesopotamia, the Apkallu were said to bring celestial knowledge to humanity. In India, sages charted the movements of planets and stars in the Vedic texts, knowledge that continues to awe modern astronomers for its sophistication. Yet some monuments defy explanation. The alignment of the Giza pyramids with Orion's belt coincides with the position of the stars around 10,500 BC, long before conventional Egyptology suggests complex civilization existed. Could this indicate a far older knowledge, preserved through mythology, architecture, and oral tradition? Perhaps a forgotten global culture once mapped the heavens with extraordinary accuracy, and its wisdom echoes faintly in the monuments that remain. Across time and space, the patterns are persistent. Careful geometry, precise orientation, and symbolic codification of celestial events. Whether independent invention, divine inspiration, or inheritance from a lost civilization, the monuments testify to a profound human desire to understand the cosmos, to align the earth with the sky, and to leave messages that transcend generations. As the sun rises over these ancient stones, the shadows lengthen and shift, revealing subtle angles and alignments invisible at first glance. Each monument becomes not just a relic of the past, but a living map of knowledge, one that bridges the earthly and the celestial, the mortal and the eternal. Perhaps the architects of the sky were not merely builders, but visionaries. Their hands carved stone, their eyes traced the heavens, and their minds encoded secrets still waiting to be fully understood. Across deserts, jungles, and plains, the monuments endure, silent, precise, and haunting, a testament to a world that may have known the stars long before we did. In the shadow of their work, we are left to wonder, who were these architects, and what ancient knowledge did they seek to preserve for those who came after? The sky still speaks to those who listen. Long before the first compass spun, before sextants measured angles and astrolabes traced the stars, humans looked at the horizon and wondered, what lies beyond? The seas called to them, and the land, vast and uncharted, demanded to be known. Yet some maps survive that defy conventional understanding. Ancient charts so precise they suggest knowledge far beyond the abilities of the civilizations that supposedly created them. Among these, the Piri race map stands as one of the most enigmatic. Drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer, it depicts the coastlines of Europe, Africa, and remarkably, the northern tip of South America with astonishing accuracy. But it is the faint outlines beyond, hints of Antarctica, free of ice, that send chills through historians and geologists alike. How could a 16th century mapmaker depict frozen continents in such detail? The map itself claims to be a compilation of older sources, some dating back centuries, but even these sources seem impossibly precise, suggesting the survival of knowledge from a time when the Earth's surface was dramatically different. Piri Race's work is not an isolated anomaly. Ancient maps from China, Greece, and the Arab world often show coastlines and islands with a precision that modern historians struggle to explain. The Chinese cartographer Pei Xu in the 3rd century meticulously recorded rivers, mountains, and urban centers, creating a systematic method of measurement long before Europe developed similar techniques. Greek maps, compiled by Claudius Ptolemy in the 2nd century, offered grids, latitudes, and longitudes, a level of sophistication that echoes in modern geography. But the question persists. How were these measurements achieved without the tools and instruments we take for granted today? Even more perplexing are the so-called pre-flood maps, fragments of charts that seem to show coastlines and islands long submerged by rising seas. Some researchers speculate that they were copied from even older originals, perhaps from a culture that thrived before the last great ice age. Could there have been seafarers who navigated vast oceans with such skill that their knowledge survived only in stone, parchment, and memory? Evidence hints at submerged cities off the coasts of Japan, India, and the Mediterranean, their ruins matching coastlines depicted on maps thousands of years later. The accuracy of these ancient maps often extends to geographic features that should have been unknown. The Hudson Bay, the coast of West Africa, the islands of the Atlantic, all appear with remarkable fidelity in records centuries before European explorers reached them. Some of these charts even depict longitude with surprising exactness, despite the widely held belief that longitude could not be calculated before the invention of the marine chronometer in the 18th century. Legends of master navigators and lost civilizations are found across continents. In the Indian Ocean, Tamil texts speak of Kumari Kandam, a sunken landmass whose people traversed seas with sophisticated knowledge of currents and stars. In the Pacific, oral traditions recount voyages between islands that span thousands of kilometers, guided by an intimate understanding of winds, waves, and celestial markers. Could these accounts represent remnants of a vanished culture of mapmakers whose knowledge survived only in myths and scattered charts? Even more intriguing are the mathematical and geometric hints embedded in these maps. Some scholars have noted that certain maps display knowledge of the Earth's circumference, meridians, and parallels long before Eratosthenes calculated them. Lines of latitude appear almost flawlessly plotted, coastlines measured with astonishing accuracy, and distant lands represented with a precision that challenges the notion of primitive exploration. These maps suggest not merely observation, but calculation, measurement, and perhaps even a shared system of knowledge, a network of explorers and scholars spanning the globe. Could such skill have existed before the last ice age? If so, the implications are profound. Rising seas and catastrophic climate shifts would have erased cities, ports, and docks, leaving only memory and maps as evidence. Yet the persistence of this knowledge, across cultures and generations, implies a deliberate effort to preserve it. Perhaps these ancient cartographers were not merely recording geography, but encoding a history, a story of humanity's mastery of the seas, of civilizations that rose and fell long before the annals of written history began. The challenge of interpreting these maps is compounded by the mysteries of time itself. Many coastlines depicted correspond to geological reconstructions from 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, the period before the last glacial retreat. At that time, vast land bridges connected continents now separated by oceans. Ancient mariners would have faced not only immense distances, but shifting seas, unpredictable storms, and landscapes that no longer exist. That they could chart these regions with such precision hints at a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, tides, and navigation. Some theorists suggest that these vanished mapmakers were part of a global network, sharing knowledge across oceans and generations. Their charts became the foundation for civilizations that followed, yet the origins of the knowledge remained obscured by time. Perhaps they were sailors, priests, or scholars, guardians of a science that intertwined the earth and sky, the seas and stars, guiding humanity in ways we are only beginning to glimpse. The allure of the vanished mapmakers lies not only in the maps themselves, but in the story they hint at, of a world older and more connected than conventional history admits. Their work challenges our assumptions about the past, forcing us to ask, how much have we lost? How many cities, ports, and civilizations vanished beneath the waves, leaving only sketches on parchment as evidence of their existence? As we study these maps today, tracing coastlines and comparing them with modern satellite images, we are not merely reading charts. We are listening to whispers from the past, voices of those who saw the world as it once was and sought to record it for those who might come after. The maps speak of mastery, curiosity, and survival, of knowledge preserved through disaster, and of civilizations whose ingenuity rivaled our own. And so, in the faded ink and careful lines of these ancient charts, the vanished mapmakers endure. Though their cities lie beneath the waves, their harbors lost to time, and their ships swallowed by history, the precision of their work defies forgetting. Across oceans, continents, and centuries, their legacy remains, a silent testament to the explorers who charted the world long before the world as we know it existed. We are left to wonder, who were they? From where did they come? And how much of our understanding of the Earth still awaits rediscovery, hidden in maps that have survived millennia, waiting for the eyes that can truly read them. In the silent deserts of Africa, on the windswept plateaus of Central Asia, along the hidden valleys of the Americas, stones speak. Not in words we can hear, but in marks, etched, carved, and painted, lasting impressions of lives that vanished long before history took notice. Petroglyphs, rock carvings, and megalithic inscriptions endure, whispering across millennia, hinting at stories humanity may have forgotten. Some depict animals, hunting scenes, and daily life, simple echoes of survival, yet many are far stranger. Figures that defy human anatomy, symbols that trace constellations, intricate geometric patterns that seem impossibly deliberate. These are not random scratches. They are messages, coded in permanence, left by hands that understood something beyond their age. Who were these artists, and what compelled them to carve memory into stone so deeply that it would outlast wind, flood, and fire? In the remote Tassili Niger of Algeria, figures stretch across cliffs, elongated beings with masks adorned with strange implements. The style is unlike any known culture. In Central America, the Nazca of Peru etched massive lines into the desert, visible only from above. Spirals, animals, and humanoid shapes appear across miles of earth. Were these simply ceremonial or maps? Celestial coordinates? Guides for travelers? Records of forgotten rituals? Across Anatolia, Göbekli Tepe's carved pillars reveal foxes, birds, scorpions, and abstract symbols. Each stone seems deliberate, placed with care, aligned to the heavens, preserved in burial as though their creators sought to protect secrets from the world. Perhaps they encoded warnings, knowledge, or memories, messages for a future that might otherwise never know. The language of stone, silent yet enduring, defies simple explanation. Many carvings align with the stars. Spirals, circles, and patterns recur across continents, suggesting a shared fascination, or even understanding, of the skies. Could these be the first star charts? A global consciousness of the cosmos, encoded not in paper or ink, but in rock and soil, where time itself cannot erase them. Across Europe, in sites like Newgrange and Karnak, stones trace the movements of the sun and moon, marking solstices, equinoxes, and celestial cycles. These are not casual constructions, they are precise, deliberate, and enduring. Yet interpretation is fraught with mystery. Some symbols appear repeatedly across distant cultures: spirals in Ireland, Peru, and India, concentric circles in Australia and Africa, humanoid figures with elongated heads or exaggerated limbs from the Sahara to North America. Coincidence seems unlikely. Could these marks preserve a universal memory? Fragments of knowledge from civilizations lost to flood, fire, or time itself? Archaeologists and anthropologists often describe these carvings as ritualistic or artistic, but a closer look suggests layers of meaning beyond mere decoration. Some figures appear alongside patterns resembling star maps. Others are accompanied by repeated motifs, snakes, suns, or abstract glyphs, that may encode calendars, astronomical events, or stories of migration. Each stone becomes a repository of knowledge, a library without walls, accessible only to those who can decipher its code. In Australia, the Aboriginal rock art of Kakadu depicts dreamtime beings, ancestral spirits that shaped the land. These are not merely mythological illustrations. They map rivers, mountains, and waterholes, preserving practical knowledge alongside spiritual teaching. Across continents, petroglyphs function similarly, a convergence of survival, memory, and reverence. Yet some carvings remain inexplicable, leaving questions unanswered. The very act of carving stone suggests urgency. Stone endures, surviving fires, floods, and glacial advance. By carving into rock, ancient civilizations may have sought permanence, a message to the distant future, a warning, or guidance. Perhaps they foresaw disasters, migrations, or lost knowledge and wished to transmit their understanding beyond the lifespan of any single generation. In North America, the petroglyphs of the Southwest depict horned figures, spirals, and mysterious symbols whose meaning remains elusive. Are these visions, stories, or records of knowledge? Across the world, in Siberia, India, and the Mediterranean, similar motifs echo: circles, lines, humanoid forms. The repetition of these symbols across oceans and eras hints at shared memory, or at least a shared impulse to preserve understanding in a form that cannot be erased. Voices in stone endure because they are eternal in their silence. They challenge us to see not only with our eyes but with curiosity and imagination. Every groove, line, and carving is a question, a whisper across time. Who were we, and who came before? Are these marks the artwork of ancient peoples, or are they messages encoded with intent, guiding, warning, or remembering for a future that might one day listen? We may never fully decipher their meaning, but as we trace our fingers over weathered grooves, study the patterns under shifting light, and align them with the stars, a realization emerges. Stone preserves memory in ways we rarely comprehend. The petroglyphs and carvings are more than art. They are echoes, warnings, lessons, and fragments of history lost to conventional records. And so, across deserts, mountains, and valleys, the voices in stone speak still. Silent yet resonant, enduring yet enigmatic. They remind us that history is not only written in books or buried in ruins, but carved into the earth itself, awaiting those willing to hear, to wonder, and to remember. Within the double helix of human DNA lies a story older than written history. A record not of kings or empires, but of survival, migration, and evolution. Each sequence, each mutation, tells of journeys long before recorded time, of communities lost to memory, and of ancestors whose existence was never chronicled. Geneticists have begun to uncover something remarkable: sudden leaps in human complexity. Traits appear in populations without clear lineage, as if knowledge, adaptation, or resilience emerged almost fully formed. These anomalies are small, often overlooked, but persistent. They hint at a past where human development was not linear, where isolated pockets of civilization may have flourished and disappeared, leaving only traces in our genes. Across continents, DNA speaks in whispers. Studies reveal migrations that defy conventional archaeology, populations appearing in unexpected regions, carrying markers from distant lands. In the Americas, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, fragments of ancestry arise that cannot be easily explained. These are the shadows of forgotten peoples, travelers, survivors, or perhaps remnants of civilizations lost to flood, fire, or ice. Some anomalies are even more striking. In isolated communities, traits emerge that seem out of step with surrounding populations: adaptations to climate, resistance to disease, or cognitive abilities beyond what might be expected. Could these be echoes of an earlier intelligence, preserved through careful survival or even selective blending? Science does not yet have all the answers, but the patterns persist, insistent, undeniable. The story of human DNA is not merely one of survival. It is a story of contact, exchange, and sometimes disappearance. Modern genetics reveals traces of interbreeding with unknown hominids, species that vanished from the Earth long before written history. Some of these traces hint at complex knowledge, cultural sophistication, or ways of living that were lost when their makers vanished beneath the waves, forests, or glaciers. Each genome becomes a map, a silent record of connections we are only beginning to comprehend. Across the Pacific, Polynesian populations carry markers that suggest interactions with peoples whose existence is undocumented. In the Caucasus, ancient DNA reveals migrations that defy chronology, hinting at communities that rose and vanished without leaving stones or texts behind. And in remote pockets of Africa and South America, isolated genetic signatures speak of small advanced groups whose knowledge and lineage seeped into later populations without ever being fully recorded. Could some of these lost people still live among us today? Perhaps their descendants walk unseen, their heritage woven subtly into the tapestry of modern humanity. Certain abilities, tendencies, or physical traits may be inherited from ancestors whose names were erased, whose civilizations were swept away. Our biology, it seems, remembers what our history forgets. The leap from myth to science is narrower than once believed. Tales of strange peoples, giants, or first men in distant lands may reflect not fantasy, but memory, passed down through generations, encoded into our stories, and finally reflected in our DNA. The genome, like stone carvings or megalithic structures, becomes a repository of knowledge, silent, enduring, and waiting for discovery. Yet, these genetic echoes raise profound questions. How many civilizations were lost before history recorded a single name? How many cultures survived only long enough to leave traces in DNA before vanishing beneath catastrophe? And what does it mean for us, living millennia later, to carry fragments of knowledge and experience that we cannot fully access? As researchers sequence more genomes and trace human migration with ever greater precision, the picture grows more complex. What was once considered random variation now hints at deliberate survival strategies, at networks of contact spanning continents, at ingenuity and adaptability lost to the ages. Our ancestors were not merely passive, they were explorers, builders, and preservers of knowledge, much of it erased, much of it encoded within the very fabric of our being. The DNA of the forgotten is a silent testament to resilience. It reminds us that humanity's story is far larger than any book, any artifact, or any legend. Even in the absence of cities, temples, or texts, life itself preserves memory, passing it forward in strands of code too small to see, yet powerful enough to endure. And so, in every cell, in every generation, the echoes of the lost civilizations live on. The forgotten peoples are not gone. They persist in our blood, in subtle inheritance, in the mysteries that science is only beginning to unravel. We are, in part, their continuation, a living bridge between what was and what might yet be remembered. Humanity carries the DNA of the forgotten. In it lies our history, our mystery, and perhaps the key to understanding the civilizations that came before us, whose stories are written not on stone or parchment, but within ourselves. Scattered across the globe are objects that defy explanation. Small, intricate, and impossibly precise, they hint at knowledge far beyond the capabilities of the civilizations that produced them. From polished metal alloys that resist corrosion to tools of unusual sophistication, these artifacts whisper of a past where science and craft may have reached heights we can scarcely imagine. Consider, for a moment, the Baghdad Battery, a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod, sealed in asphalt. Simple at first glance, yet capable of producing an electric charge. Some argue it was a curiosity or ritual object. Others suggest it could have been used for electroplating or even early experimentation with electricity. The true purpose remains a mystery. Its mere existence challenges assumptions about the technological reach of Mesopotamia. Further east, in the sands of India, lie the iron pillars of Delhi, standing for more than 1600 years. Despite exposure to monsoon rains, their iron has resisted corrosion. Modern metallurgy struggles to replicate this durability. Ancient texts provide no blueprint for such craftsmanship, leaving only questions. Did ancient smiths stumble upon techniques now lost? Or were they inheritors of knowledge passed down from a prior, forgotten era? In the deserts of Egypt, the Great Pyramids reveal precision that confounds engineers today. The stones are cut with exacting angles, their surfaces smoothed to near perfection. Some monoliths weigh hundreds of tons, yet are aligned with celestial precision. Traditional explanations invoke sheer human ingenuity and brute force, but even modern cranes and lasers would struggle to achieve such perfection. Could the architects have used tools or techniques that have since vanished from history? Even smaller objects present anomalies. In the Czech Republic, the famous Antikythera mechanism was retrieved from a shipwreck dating to around 100 BCE. This bronze device, a complex assembly of gears, tracked astronomical cycles with astonishing accuracy. It suggests a mechanical sophistication centuries ahead of its time, a knowledge almost entirely lost until the 18th century. How did such understanding arise, and why did it disappear? South America offers its own mysteries. In Tiwanaku, Bolivia, stones weighing dozens of tons were cut, transported, and fitted together so precisely that even a knife blade cannot pass between them. The tools required to shape and move such stones remain elusive. Some suggest levers and labor alone, others hint at knowledge of vibration, geometry, or principles we do not yet understand. The ruins seem to speak of an advanced grasp of engineering, one that the written record of the region cannot fully explain. The legend of Damascus steel presents another enigma. Blades forged in the Middle East from around the 3rd century BCE to the 17th century displayed a unique pattern, extreme strength, and self-sharpening properties. Modern metallurgists struggled for decades to reproduce the original technique. Only recently have chemical analyses begun to uncover the combination of carbon nanotubes and microstructure that gave these blades their unparalleled properties. Could this knowledge have originated from an even earlier civilization, long before the Islamic world inherited it? Across the world, artifacts challenge the notion of linear technological progress. In China, ancient pottery shows signs of thermoluminescent glazing that would not be replicated for millennia. In South India, temple statues contain traces of materials and engineering that modern science struggles to duplicate. Even in remote regions of Europe, objects of gold and bronze demonstrate craftsmanship that hints at lost scientific principles. Some call these anomalies out-of-place artifacts. They are rare and often dismissed, but their consistency across continents raises questions. Could there have been a network of knowledge before recorded history, a civilization, or multiple civilizations, whose technical prowess rivaled or exceeded our own, now buried beneath the sands of time? The timing of many of these objects is telling. They often appear around the end of the last ice age, during periods of environmental upheaval. Floods, volcanic activity, and climatic shifts could have erased entire societies, taking their knowledge with them. The surviving artifacts may be fragments, pieces of a puzzle that, if complete, could rewrite the story of human ingenuity. Consider, too, the cultural memory encoded in myths. Tales of flying machines, great metal cities, or tools of unimaginable power may reflect real technologies remembered in legend. Ancient texts from India describe the Vimanas, airborne crafts said to traverse land and sky. Some suggest allegory, others wonder if these were based on actual machines now lost. Similarly, Greek myths speak of automatons, mechanical devices capable of performing tasks with precision. Were these dreams or recollections of a vanished technological age? Even in geology and mining, anomalies appear. Smelted metals, polished stones, and megalithic construction demonstrate knowledge of materials that should have been impossible at the time. Certain copper and bronze artifacts show composition and crystallization that defy the known capabilities of Bronze Age artisans. These objects endure as silent witnesses to a science we cannot fully replicate. The question arises, if these technologies once existed, why were they lost? Catastrophe is one possibility. Global floods, earthquakes, and volcanic events could have wiped out entire knowledge networks. Isolation, language loss, and the collapse of trade or education systems may have further obscured techniques. Over generations, what was once routine became legend, and then, eventually, forgotten. Yet another perspective considers secrecy. Perhaps knowledge was deliberately preserved, hidden from common view, encoded in rituals, symbols, and monuments. Sites like Göbekli Tepe or the pyramids may have served not only ceremonial purposes but also as repositories of technical wisdom, encrypted for those capable of interpreting it. The study of lost technologies forces us to reconsider human history. Progress may not be linear. Civilizations may rise and fall, leaving fragments that echo across millennia. Our ancestors, in ways we do not fully understand, manipulated the world with skill, insight, and ingenuity that rivaled our own. The artifacts remain, enigmatic and enduring, offering a tantalizing glimpse of what has been lost. In every etched stone, every corroded metal, every polished monolith, the fingerprints of forgotten genius endure. They remind us that history is not merely what is recorded, but also what is hidden, in deserts, oceans, and silent ruins. The past may be far more sophisticated than textbooks admit, and our journey to uncover it has only just begun. Lost technologies are whispers from a vanished age. They challenge our assumptions, beckon curiosity, and hint at knowledge that was once, and may one day again be, within human reach. In tracing these remnants, we trace not only the ingenuity of our ancestors but the enduring question, what else remains, waiting silently beneath the earth and within memory? Across the planet, certain places hum with a subtle, invisible power. Ancient ruins, temples, and megalithic sites. Each seems to sit upon invisible crossroads where the Earth's magnetic field bends and swirls. Modern instruments detect faint distortions, energy spikes, and anomalies in geomagnetic readings. To the ancients, these sites were sacred. To scientists, they are puzzles written in the language of the planet itself. It begins with an observation, the alignment of ancient structures with precision beyond mere coincidence. Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid of Giza, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat, all appear to rest on what some call ley lines, vast energetic paths connecting holy places across continents. To some researchers, these alignments suggest that ancient builders were attuned to more than geometry or stars, that they sensed the Earth's own energetic currents. The Earth is not inert. Beneath our feet flows a living ocean of molten metal and magnetic charge. The planet breathes through its magnetic field, pulsing with currents that shift, intensify, and fade over time. These fields influence everything, from animal migrations to climate, even the rhythm of the human heart. Ancient peoples may not have had compasses, but they felt the world differently. They watched the heavens, sensed vibration, and perhaps understood the unseen harmonies between sky and stone. In the Peruvian Andes, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman rises with impossible precision. Its interlocking stones fit together like the pieces of a puzzle, no mortar between them. When modern researchers brought magnetic sensors to the site, they discovered fluctuations in the readings, as though the stones themselves were subtly charged. The same phenomenon appears in Egypt, around the Giza Plateau, where faint magnetic distortions ripple across the desert floor. Some believe this was intentional. The theory of geomancy, earth divination, suggests that ancient builders selected locations where the planet's energy was strongest, amplifying it through architecture. Megaliths and temples under this view were not merely monuments but resonant instruments, tuning forks for the Earth's electromagnetic symphony. At sites like Stonehenge, subtle magnetic differences have been recorded between the stones themselves and the surrounding soil. Some rocks, particularly those rich in quartz or magnetite, respond to geomagnetic changes by generating faint electrical charges. To ancient builders, such stones may have been considered alive. When struck, they ring like bells. When placed in alignment, they seem to hum with unseen frequency. In Asia, the principles of Feng Shui and Vastu Shastra speak of energy lines, the dragon's breath, the flow of qi, invisible currents said to move through the land. Ancient city planners placed temples, palaces, and gates in harmony with these forces. Could these traditions preserve an intuitive understanding of geomagnetism? The modern term for such energy lines, ley lines, was coined in the early 20th century. Initially dismissed as coincidence, the concept gained strange validation when electromagnetic mapping began. Some alignments correspond to subtle fluctuations in Earth's natural magnetic field. Others coincide with fault lines, where geological stress releases bursts of electromagnetic energy. Ancient builders may have sensed these zones, drawn to their vitality or their strange power. In the Great Pyramid, researchers have detected unusual electromagnetic properties. Certain chambers resonate with specific frequencies, amplifying sound waves into standing vibrations. The pyramid's limestone casing, rich in quartz, acts as a natural conductor. Whether intentional or accidental, the structure behaves like a massive energy receiver, interacting with the planet's field in ways we still struggle to understand. Similar anomalies appear in the ruins of the Nabta Playa in Egypt's Nubian desert, an ancient stone circle aligned with the stars. Its location coincides with one of the strongest magnetic gradients in North Africa. The builders, 5,000 years ago, could not have measured such forces with tools, yet they chose this place deliberately, as though they sensed its potency. In Mesoamerica, the pyramids of Teotihuacan exhibit a striking magnetic peculiarity. Compasses placed near the Pyramid of the Sun deviate from true north. The structure is built atop a complex network of tunnels filled with mica, a mineral known for its electrical insulation and reflective qualities. Could this have been more than coincidence? Some propose it was designed to interact with geomagnetic forces, focusing or storing the planet's energy like a vast capacitor. Even natural features seem to participate in this hidden dialogue. The Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea, and other regions of strange navigation errors coincide with areas of high magnetic variance. Birds lose their way, compasses spin, instruments falter. For ancient sailors and travelers, these regions inspired awe and dread, thresholds to other realms. And so a question arises: did ancient civilizations merely stumble upon these magnetic anomalies, or did they deliberately seek them out? Were they guided by spiritual intuition or by scientific knowledge long forgotten? Some suggest that magnetic anomalies could influence human consciousness. Subtle shifts in geomagnetic fields are known to affect the pineal gland, circadian rhythms, even emotion. Temples and megaliths placed upon these zones may have served to heighten awareness, alter perception, or induce trance. In this light, ancient rituals and initiations might have been energetic experiences, communion with the living Earth itself. Modern physics offers tantalizing echoes. The Earth's magnetic field resonates at around 783 Hz, the Schumann resonance, a frequency close to human brain waves in deep meditation. Ancient sites tuned to this resonance may have acted as amplifiers of consciousness, connecting human minds to the planet's own harmonic pulse. Whether by accident or design, the ancients may have built in sync with the Earth's frequency, a planetary symphony now largely forgotten. Every compass deviation, every strange vibration recorded among the ruins, feels like a whisper. A message from builders who knew the world not only as matter, but as music. Their monuments still hum softly in the magnetic breath of the earth, as though remembering a time when humanity built not against nature, but with it. Perhaps the ancients did not lose their knowledge. Perhaps they left it buried in stone and alignment, waiting for us to feel the resonance again. Beneath the surface of our world lies a hidden labyrinth, a network of tunnels and chambers stretching far beyond what history books dare to record. In Anatolia, deep beneath the Turkish plains, entire underground cities have been uncovered: Derinkuyu, Kaymakli, and others, some large enough to shelter tens of thousands. Ventilation shafts spiral toward the surface like the ribcage of a sleeping giant, while stairways wind into darkness that has remained undisturbed for millennia. Archaeologists study these subterranean realms with awe. Rooms for families, wells for water, communal halls and stables. Each tells of a civilization that feared the surface, or perhaps revered the underground as sacred. But these are more than simple refugees. Some passages stretch for kilometers, connecting neighboring settlements in a hidden network beneath the mountains. Escape routes, supply lines, or the veins of a forgotten world. Their purpose remains a riddle. Across continents, the pattern repeats. In South America, beneath the Andes and the Amazon basin, explorers have reported vast tunnels carved from stone, some aligned with celestial markers, others descending into the earth like the roots of the mountains themselves. In Egypt, beneath temples and pyramids, labyrinthine corridors wind beneath the deserts, untouched by the sands of time. The question emerges: were these subterranean passages designed independently, or do they reflect a knowledge shared across continents long before recorded history? The architecture itself is staggering. Tunnels are carved with precision, their walls smoothed and reinforced, sometimes decorated with symbols or carvings whose meaning has been lost. In some cases, the stones used are larger than anything the builders could have moved without mechanical aid, yet they lie perfectly interlocked, forming passages capable of withstanding centuries of pressure. Ventilation shafts suggest an understanding of airflow, engineering, and human endurance far beyond what one might expect from prehistoric civilizations. Some tunnels seem almost impossible. In Turkey, the Derinkuyu city descends over 60 meters, containing chapels, stables, storage rooms, and even primitive medical facilities. Beyond mere refuge, these cities appear capable of supporting life underground indefinitely. In South America, stories of hidden networks connecting valleys and plateaus hint at routes that could traverse entire regions, pathways that defy conventional understanding of geography and distance. Could these tunnels have been built in response to global catastrophe? Geological evidence points to multiple ice age floods, seismic upheavals, and periods of extreme climate change. For civilizations on the brink, the surface may have become uninhabitable. Underground, life could continue, shielded from storms, rising seas, and relentless sun. Some researchers suggest that the underground networks are more than practical shelters. They are the remnants of a planetary evacuation plan, a strategy passed down through generations. Yet some of the most puzzling tunnels appear to defy even this logic. In South America and Egypt, certain passages seem to align with locations thousands of kilometers apart, tracing lines that span continents. Were these corridors symbolic, or did they serve a practical purpose we cannot yet comprehend? Ancient myths speak of paths beneath the earth, connecting far-off lands, legends of hidden passages where messengers, priests, or survivors could move unseen. Could these stories preserve memory of a true global network, now buried and fragmented? The tunnels themselves whisper secrets of a lost technology. Smooth stone, precise angles, and structural stability suggest knowledge of physics and engineering that should not have existed at the time. Some corridors resonate acoustically, amplifying whispers and footsteps, perhaps intentionally, for ritual, communication, or defense. In Turkey, certain underground chambers echo as though the builders understood how sound could carry and be controlled. In South America, subterranean temples appear to harness the very rock to amplify chants or ceremonies, connecting the spiritual with the physical in a way modern science is only beginning to explore. Even the mapping of these subterranean realms challenges conventional history. In many regions, tunnels seem to branch like the veins of a living organism, connecting disparate sites with a logic that suggests a global mind at work. Could it be that a seafaring, pre-Ice Age civilization, lost to time, constructed these passages as safe conduits across the planet? The idea strains credulity, yet evidence mounts. Carved corridors beneath continents, aligned with natural features, celestial cycles, and even geomagnetic currents. In Anatolia, excavations reveal secret chambers with unknown symbols etched into stone. In the Amazon, aerial surveys have uncovered hidden depressions and entrances, covered by centuries of jungle growth, hinting at tunnels yet unentered. In Egypt, beneath the Giza Plateau, mysterious cavities and shafts point toward undiscovered subterranean complexes. Each discovery seems to suggest one unshakable truth: humanity, as history, may have far deeper roots than we imagine, buried beneath layers of earth, time, and memory. The tunnels are not merely physical spaces. They are echoes, a record of fear, ingenuity, and survival. They speak of people who understood the fragility of the world above, who prepared for events that reshaped the planet, and yet they also hint at knowledge lost, of engineering, astronomy, and global connection, encoded in stone and shadow for generations yet unborn to uncover. We may never know the full extent of these underground networks. Some corridors collapse, others remain sealed by time or human intervention, yet they endure as silent witnesses, whispering across millennia. They remind us that history is not only written on parchment or in monuments above ground. It is carved into the earth itself, waiting for those who dare to listen. Beneath our feet, the past waits in darkness, and every tunnel explored brings us closer to understanding a civilization that may have existed before memory, before myth, before history dared to record itself. In the stillness, the earth hums. Its echoes beneath the surface tell a story of survival, ingenuity, and the enduring reach of humanity. A story that whispers across continents and through the ages, waiting for us to follow its hidden paths. For every secret we uncover, there are 10 that slip back into shadow. The stones we unearth, the maps we decode, the artifacts we bring into the light, they are but fragments of a far vaster story, a history that refuses to be fully told. And yet, even in the fragments, there is a voice whispering across time, hinting at truths that dare not be spoken aloud. History is a filter. Libraries, museums, and archives decide which discoveries are celebrated, which are cataloged, and which are quietly buried. Political power, cultural bias, and scholarly consensus often dictate the boundaries of our knowledge. Some artifacts are displayed, their stories carefully curated to fit a narrative deemed acceptable. Others vanish, relegated to private collections, hidden beneath the weight of bureaucracy, ideology, or fear. The voices of the past are selective, and the silence that remains is profound. Consider the ruins that challenge conventional timelines. Massive stones, precise alignments, and sophisticated engineering appear across continents, yet textbooks gloss over their mysteries. The very existence of such sites demands questions that history does not answer. Why did some civilizations vanish seemingly overnight? How did ancient engineers move impossibly heavy stones without modern machinery? How did seafarers navigate oceans long before compasses and charts? These are not just archaeological curiosities. They are disruptions to the story we have been taught, and disruptions are uncomfortable truths. The suppression of knowledge is not always deliberate. Sometimes it is the slow erosion of time, the loss of context, the fading of memory. Languages die, oral traditions vanish, and with them the instructions for understanding the artifacts left behind. Symbols carved into stone lose meaning. Maps become incomprehensible. Technologies once known are forgotten. Humanity becomes blind to its own past, looking at monumental works with awe, but failing to grasp the knowledge encoded within them. At other times, silence is enforced. In the shadows of politics and ideology, discoveries are ignored or dismissed. Entire fields of study are marginalized, as if by denying their existence, we can erase the possibility of a past that challenges the foundations of modern civilization. Scholars who speak too freely risk ridicule. Governments may withhold information. Private interests can obscure access to knowledge. And so, the Great Silence grows, a veil drawn across millennia of human ingenuity and achievement. Yet, the silence is never complete. Across the world, fragments persist. Ancient texts speak in riddles, hinting at civilizations lost beneath oceans, ice, and deserts. Geographical anomalies, submerged cities, buried roads, labyrinthine tunnels, defy easy explanation. DNA studies reveal sudden leaps in human development, unexplained migrations, and the echoes of ancestry that cannot be accounted for. Each discovery is a small spark, a reminder that the past is not as simple as it seems. It is a paradox of human history. The more we uncover, the more we realize how much remains hidden. Every answer reveals new questions. Every artifact demands interpretation. And in that tension between discovery and oblivion, the story of humanity stretches into the unknown, full of wonder and caution. We are travelers seeking light in the darkness, aware that the truths we hold are only part of a much larger, far more complex tapestry. The silence is also instructive. It reminds us to question, to probe, to look beyond accepted narratives. Civilizations rise and fall. Records are written and rewritten, and yet certain lessons persist, encoded not in books, but in the earth itself, in stones, in ruins, in subterranean passages, and in the patterns of the stars. Those who listen carefully may catch whispers of knowledge, echoes of intelligence that once spanned continents and oceans, guiding humanity through ages we barely understand. There is danger in silence. Knowledge lost can leave societies vulnerable to repetition of past mistakes. Ancient catastrophes, floods, shifts in climate, mass extinctions may hold lessons that we ignore at our peril. Yet there is also a profound beauty in the hidden, a mystery that invites curiosity, imagination, and humility. The gaps in our history are as meaningful as the fragments we preserve. They challenge us to think beyond the obvious, to see connections that others overlook, and to honor the ingenuity of those who came before. The Great Silence is not merely absence, it is a presence in its own right. It shapes our understanding, guides our exploration, and frames the questions we dare to ask. To navigate it requires patience, imagination, and a willingness to confront the unknown without fear. For within the silence lies the possibility of revelation, the chance to glimpse civilizations, technologies, and knowledge that existed long before recorded memory. And so, we search, diving into the oceans, trekking beneath mountains, probing deserts, studying the stars. We follow the faint trails left by those who walked the earth before us. We read the inscriptions, map the ruins, and analyze the patterns. Each discovery is a defiance of the silence, a reclaiming of voices long thought lost. And still, for every secret revealed, 10 more vanish into the shadows. The Great Silence reminds us that history is not static. It is alive, shifting, and incomplete. It exists not only in what we know, but in what has been concealed, forgotten, or erased. It challenges our assumptions, expands our imagination, and invites us to explore the edges of understanding. For those who listen carefully, the silence speaks, whispering truths about our world, our ancestors, and the civilizations that time itself has tried to forget. In the end, perhaps the silence is not a void, but a mirror, reflecting the limits of human knowledge, the resilience of memory, and the enduring mystery of the earth. It asks us to look closer, dig deeper, and to remember that the story of humanity is far greater than the chapters we have read. Beneath the rubble, beneath the sand, beneath the ice, the echoes remain, waiting for the ones willing to hear them and brave enough to follow where they lead. The camera drifts slowly over the planet, revealing a world both young and ancient, alive with quiet energy. Mountains rise like the spines of sleeping giants, rivers carve their way through the land like veins carrying lifeblood, and oceans stretch to horizons that seem to dissolve into eternity. The earth herself holds every secret, etched in stone, whispered through wind, preserved in ice, and buried beneath layers of sand and silt. Every crevice, every valley, every coral atoll is a repository of memory, waiting for those who know how to read her language. Time here feels different. It moves in long, deliberate arcs, folding past and present together. The footprints of forgotten civilizations lie hidden beneath layers of sediment, their stories obscured by centuries of geological change. Yet they endure, not as mere ruins or artifacts, but as echoes in the very fabric of the earth. The soil remembers. The water remembers. The stones themselves carry patterns of thought, labor, and devotion from hands that no longer walk the planet. We are reminded that human memory is fragile, fleeting. Books decay, oral traditions fade, and monuments collapse. Yet the earth retains a kind of permanence that surpasses the lifespan of any species. She does not forget. She remembers the rise and fall of empires, the labor of builders whose names are lost, and the brilliance of minds whose inventions were erased by time. Even the most subtle traces, a submerged city, a buried road, a carved stone, are proof that the past persists. Look closely at the oceans. They hold drowned cities, streets, and plazas swallowed by waves, their stone outlines barely visible beneath the shifting tides. Here lie Atlantis, Yonaguni, and other cities that dared to reach for the sun before the floods came. Each wave that breaks upon a sunken column, each current that stirs the sand, is a whisper from the past. And though the cities may be hidden from view, their memory is etched into the chemistry of water, the patterns of tides, the erosion of rock. Move inland to deserts and plains. The Sahara's eye, concentric and mysterious, mirrors long-lost civilizations, their design almost impossible to dismiss as chance. Beneath the Amazon's canopy, roads and settlements lie entombed beneath leaves and soil, geometric and precise, waiting for the day we rediscover them. In the hills of Lebanon, colossal stones of Baalbek lean against gravity itself, monuments to knowledge that defies our understanding. Each place is a message, carried across millennia, a memory preserved in the body of the earth herself. And then there are the mountains. The Himalayas cradle the legends of Shambhala, a hidden city, radiant and protected, perched somewhere beyond human sight. The Tibetan texts speak in riddles, yet the mountains themselves seem to hold an echo of truth, a memory of human aspiration intertwined with the eternal pulse of the planet. Peaks, glaciers, and valleys are not merely landscapes. They are witnesses to events we may never fully comprehend, records of civilizations that endured, and perhaps still endure, in ways we cannot see. The Earth's memory is not static. It shifts with tectonic plates, is sculpted by wind, rain, and fire. Cataclysms erase, reshape, and create anew. Yet even when continents are submerged, ice sheets advance, and floods sweep across the land, traces remain, encoded in soil, rock, and sedimentary layers. Ancient maps, peer erase among them, hint at coastlines and landscapes that no longer exist. DNA carries evidence of migrations, sudden leaps in human development, and ancestry that does not fit conventional narratives. The planet preserves these patterns, waiting for those who can decode her language. There is a hum beneath it all, subtle yet pervasive, the resonance of memory. Some call it energy, some call it frequency, others call it intuition. Sacred sites, megaliths, and temples appear to align with cosmic and magnetic forces, as though the Earth herself had a hand in guiding human civilization. Were our ancestors aware of these rhythms? Did they understand the pulse of the planet, and through it, map the heavens and measure time? Perhaps they left messages, encoded in stone and structure as gifts to those who would come after. Even in the smallest details, the Earth holds stories. Petroglyphs carved into rock, symbols etched into walls, celestial alignments in ancient temples. All are fragments of memory. Each one is a testament to thought, observation, and intention. Every artifact, no matter how humble, is a syllable in the language of a planet that remembers everything. The Earth archives knowledge far beyond what we can comprehend in a single lifetime, offering patience to those willing to listen and humility to those daring enough to seek. And what of the civilizations themselves? Atlantis, Lemuria, Göbekli Tepe, Shambhala, Baalbek, are they gone, or do they live in ways we cannot perceive? Perhaps they persist not as political entities or empires, but as memory, embedded in stone, water, and DNA, encoded in the Earth's very crust. The ghosts of these civilizations are not lost. They are hidden, waiting for recognition, waiting to be remembered. They exist in the patterns we ignore, the structures we fail to understand, the echoes of knowledge that resurface when least expected. To remember the Earth is to remember ourselves. The planet's memory mirrors our own potential, resilience, and fragility. It reminds us that knowledge is both fleeting and eternal, that civilizations rise, fall, and sometimes disappear, yet their lessons persist in the fabric of the world. And as we uncover these traces, we do not merely learn about the past. We glimpse what humanity is capable of, what it has endured, and what may yet be rediscovered. Perhaps, then, the search is not for lost civilizations alone. Perhaps it is a search for continuity, for connection across time, for the realization that the Earth itself has been the greatest witness to our story. She has preserved what we could not. She has carried forward what we have forgotten. And in her patience there is hope that the fragments of memory, long scattered, may one day form a tapestry that tells the true history of the world. As the sun sets and rises again, as oceans breathe and winds shift across deserts, the Earth whispers. Her voice is quiet, yet persistent. She speaks in stone, in sediment, in submerged cities, in monuments and megaliths, in the geometry of hidden roads and the constellations mapped by human hands. Listen closely, and you may hear it. The memory of civilizations that time sought to erase, the persistence of life and knowledge, and the promise that nothing, not even the deepest silence, can ever be truly lost. The memory of Earth is vast, patient, enduring, and for those who seek it, it offers a story far greater than any single civilization, greater than history itself. In stone and sea, in wind and wave, in sky and sediment, she carries the echoes of the forgotten, and waits, as she always has, to be remembered.